Hello and welcome to CirclemakersTV. I seem to be echoing out, so let me just press this mute button, and that stops the echo. So, hello. I'm Matthew Williams, if you haven't already guessed that. The one with the big mouth. Hang on, I'm not on. There we are. I'm on. It's a technical cock-up show today. I could see that I was getting audio. Ooh, that sounds a bit loud. I'm getting like maximum deflection up there. Hang on a second. Turn this down a little bit. I had a few crashes earlier on. It was a bit weird. So, are we getting any clipping? If I speak nice and loud like this, which is how it's supposed to be, you should not be getting any clipping if I turn it down there. So you'll have to let me know. So, how's that sound-wise, everyone in channel? Mad echo. Reminds me of James Whale. Right, okay. Well, hopefully that's going to be not freaking out the audio now. A little bit clippy. Oh dear. There we go. Hang on, let's take it right down. How's that now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a great way to start a show, isn't it? But at the end of the day, the kind of audio setup we've got, we have to have somebody sitting in another room actually doing the checks for us. So it's very professional, but there we go. So welcome to CirclemakersTV. We've got an interesting guest for you, and as always, we shall go across to them in a second and find out who they are. So let's have a look and see who's on the hot seat. So who have we got in the hot seat? Oh, hang on. This is becoming a recurring theme. So right then, okay. Have you got anything you would like to tell us about crop circles? Have you? You have. Oh, great. Well, tell us what it is then. What? What's this? Are you a Dalek or something? Look, just fuck off. Just fuck off. This is just, honestly, this is not on. I can't believe this. We just can't get the bloody guess this time. I mean, oh God. Well, shall we see if we've got somebody else? Well, okay, come in, circle making guest. Right. Have you forgotten something? Yeah. Go back out and get it. Yeah. Sorry, they've forgotten something. They meant to do something and they forgot. It's the pressure of live television. It's just one of those nights tonight. Here you go. Right. This is how it's meant to be. Right, try to. Hello, Circlemaker Alaskon. Would you like to reveal your identity? Okay. That was meant. Hey, this is classic. Look, we can do jokes on this show. We can do jokes. We're really good. So, right, we've got an available guest. Yes, somebody says the audio sounds rubbish. Oh dear, is it sounding that bad? What's bad about it? Tell us. It says worst clipping sound ever. Oops, a daisy. What have we got that going on? Let's just have a little look. Let's make this nice for you before we go any further. line in. This is in Windows Vista, by the way, and Windows Vista or Windows 7 is absolutely crap. So okay, let's try that. What's that like if we turn it down and turn that one up a bit? How's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What does the audio sound like? Okay, is that better? Oh, okay. I wouldn't have thought it would have been better like that, but there you go. Right. So, guest on the seat. Would you like to reveal your identity, if possible? I think
Agent S.
Agent S. So we've given you an agent name because we're just not too sure about the situation at the moment. So we're going to have a little chat about weird things that have been going on with circle making and situations. I'm just going to get my notes. So if we go a little bit into your background, you know, just as a quick overview, you were involved back in the days when I was making crop circles with Paul Damon.
Yeah.
And you were around living in the area, and you actually came out and saw some circles being made with us, and helped us on a couple of them, didn't you?
Yes.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about your background then, how you came to be living in the area?
I was attending a farm in the area one day a week as part of a college course at Salisbury College. At the time, I'd come from a pretty poor background, bad sort of family background. And I was actually, because I had no secondary education, the college put me into a special needs group. And part of this course was that you go to, you spend a day on a farm just to, you know, see how it all works and stuff, one day a week. So I came into the area through the college, and the farmer's wife actually approached me more or less on my first visit and said, "What the hell are you doing in this group?" Because they've put me in a special needs group. So the students were sort of, some were disabled, you know, some didn't have speech and things like that.
Oh, right.
So straight away I built a rapport with the farmer's wife and the farmers. So the farmer actually approached me again and said, "Look, what the hell are you doing in this group? What are you doing even here?" And I explained my situation. I was in a bed and breakfast. I had my 16th birthday in a B&B.
Yeah.
And she said, "Right, we need to get you some accommodation." And she did. She got me some accommodation just around the corner in a village, local village. It was a year's tenancy with this lady, and that's how I entered the area.
I see. Okay. So the reason we're sort of keeping things a little bit anonymous is because we're going to discuss some sensitive subjects in some respects in a bit, and we just don't want to sort of make it a little bit, you know, awkward by revealing too many names, because people will put, you know, two and two together, and But when you say a farmer, this farmer wasn't just any farmer. I mean, it was a farmer that was living right in the centre of crop circle country.
Yep.
You know, right in the middle of it all. You could say slap bang in the middle of it. We'll probably describe some things later on which will sort of fill in a few blanks on that. But
well, I could say Led Zeppelin, and that would probably give it away. Yeah,
the farm that the Led Zeppelin formation appeared on. That was the area. Now you've had some strange things happen to you in your life. Your background has brought you, you know, sort of you were brought up in a family that had some sort of beliefs in witchcraft and things like that. Now we'll come on to that a bit later on, but you know, you were kind of steeped in strange things, but you're not actually a sort of a real believer in strange things. You're a little bit more skeptical and a little bit more reserved in some respects, aren't you? Because you try to analyse things. So.
I'm very analytical.
Yeah.
I'm probably too analytical. I will always choose science over belief systems.
Right.
You know, I'll always find an answer if it's there to be found, basically. So yeah, I do consider myself very skeptical, but not closed mind.
Right. Yeah. So the bottom line of you coming to live in the area was that you were introduced to crop circles, which I believe, even though your family had a little bit of sort of this witchcrafty thing going on, which we'll come back to a bit later on, you didn't really know anything about crop circles up to that point. So you moved into an area because of the connection with meeting a farmer at the college, and then just turns out that this farmer happens to be very heavily involved or has a lot of crop circles appearing on their land.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, coming from somewhere where I've had no secondary education and no sort of parenting, if you like, from mother and father, as I was raised by my gran. So coming into this area, I was very uneducated, but building a rapport and a relationship with the farmer's wife. This farmer was very, very passionate about. Do I say supernatural? I don't know if that's the right expression. This farmer believed very strongly that crop circles were messages from, alien form or something along those lines. And because of my background with sleep paralysis, very strong background in that, I was very susceptible to what was being said, I guess. The first crop circle I went into in my life, after just hearing about them, was the double helix.
Right, okay.
In Eastfield.
Sure.
And I want to say that I didn't feel anything, and I want to say I did feel something, and I don't think either are true. I think I had information coming to me from someone who's very passionate, and because of my dark experiences with sleep paralysis and things, I was my mind was open to it being something supernatural, but in all honesty, I didn't really feel anything.
Okay. But yes, you were built up to it really by the person who had the crop circles appearing on their land, the farmer, very much into the crop circles. So you kind of went there wanting to believe in what was going on, but you sort of didn't.
My personality is fighting with that really. It's because, like I said, I'm so analytical, and if there's an answer to be found, I usually find it. So what that meant was, although I was in a very spiritual environment, the people around me had all kinds of experiences. I used to hear about them all the time from various people. It was only natural for me, with such a difficult background, that I had to, try and work this out for myself, for my own sanity really, because of the things that were going on.
Sure.
So what that meant was me building new relationships with circle makers, which...
As well as, you were meeting a lot of circles researchers and people who were into that side of things. But I think you said to me earlier on, you sort of had to see it from both sides. So you kind of you'd had one set of people telling you, oh, look at this is all weird. And then you said, well, I'll hedge on the fence a bit, wasn't it? Something like that.
Well, in my mind, you can't have a true belief without sitting on both sides of the fence, because that's what arguing and debating is about, isn't it? It's finding the evidence. It's what happens when you go to court. It's weighing up the truth over what's perceived as a lie. So for me, anybody has to look at both. They have to listen and look at both sides of it to be able to form their own belief system. You can't have one without the other. So for me, to cross over to the dark side and build relationships with the circle makers was... I don't think that was anything...
Well, that you're using the sort of term dark side. You don't really mean the dark side.
No, it's the politics, isn't it, that's involved. It's like a cult, isn't it? And I often wonder why it's the circle makers that are portrayed so badly, when it's, in my mind, it's the researchers that are advertising something false.
Right.
Through my experience, my own personal experience.
Okay, well, let's give you a break for a second, and we'll mention a couple of things. Firstly, I suppose we should say sorry for misadvertising that the show is on tomorrow night, on the 10th. Some of you might have picked up the fact that I was saying tune in on Wednesday the 10th, which is not the 10th. Wednesday is the 9th, and the 10th is Thursday. So I made a bit of a mistake, but I hope some of you managed to work that out. I think we've got 16 users on at the moment, so I don't know if that's how many we're getting viewers, but we're certainly probably going to be down a little bit because we didn't tell people that we were on. It's not that we do want the viewers, but when you do things like that, it tends to sort of screw you up a little bit. So yes, we've got a few less viewers today, but I'm sure they can all pick up on the live stream video recording, which is down at the bottom. And also, if we've got a person online that was the person who sent in from Italy, we had a quiz last week, and the person from Italy has won the quiz. Well, it's not a quiz; it's competition.
Yeah.
Not a quiz. Hello. Competition to design a crop circle. Now, the person that sent this in, I had a slight hard drive problem. It wasn't a hard drive problem. My inbox disappeared from my Outlook Express, and I recovered from about November. And then a few emails, which included the ones with the competition entries, went. But that person definitely had the best entry. So I think they're called Rob, and they're from Italy. So Rob from Italy, please send us your design again, and I will show it up on the screen. But to give people a kind of an idea of what it was like that. So if yours was like a vortex, like that, then get in touch with us on the show, and send it in. If you do send it in on Skype before the end of the show, we will be able to show it. Otherwise, we'll have to show it next week. So that was to give you a little breather for a second, so you could regain your thoughts. Agent S. So, going back to your initial reactions to the crop circles, then you went in, but you said you didn't really feel very much.
I walked through so many different paths of trail of thinking that, weighing it up, constantly weighing it up. So I'm sure I went through thoughts of, oh wow, I wonder what it could be. Like, I'm sure I had those thoughts at the time because of the influence that I had around me. But in general, and from what I remember now, I just didn't. It was great for the community. I loved the fact that I was able to meet people from all over the world, and quite eccentric people, very intelligent people that I didn't really get an opportunity to experience. Certainly after being in a class of special needs when I didn't really consider myself that. So it was quite, it was sort of breathtaking in those kind of ways. But in terms of the crop circle phenomena, I think I always knew that they were man-made deep down. Right,
okay. Well, your predictions we were going to come on to. I don't know if now is the good time, or we should maybe say that you're agnostic first. I suppose we'll talk a little bit about that. Yeah. And for those that don't understand what agnostic means, would you like to describe what it means?
It means I'm not atheist. It means that I don't believe in all these religions, God, or anything like that, but I do believe in something, and I believe it does come down to ego when it comes to your beliefs. I cannot be so arrogant as to say, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. You just have to process information as it comes in and weigh it up in your own way. So yeah, I do believe there is something bigger than us, because life, how it's built, is so amazing, isn't it? That
sure.
There's so many questions surrounding that. So I can't ignore that, which is why I'm not atheist, but I'm agnostic.
Yeah, sure. So you say you're skeptical, but you've had some things happen to you with predictions. So we're sort of jumping forward a little bit, but I mean, it's an interesting point to get into, is you've had some things where you've been away from the crop circles, and you've had some sort of things. Would you like to just go into that a little bit?
I mean, obviously this is Crop Circles TV, so it has to be relevant to that, but where it strikes a problem for me is that my experiences, even though I've had them in circles, the majority of the time they've been outside of the circles. So it's a generic experience that I have, not necessarily directly associated to crop circles. And that it surrounds all the sleep paralysis that I used to get from a young age, which as a child, I must have been quite ignorant of, because it wasn't until I moved to Alton Barnes, which is where I moved to for that year. It wasn't until I moved there where I had a seriously bad episode where I thought I was dying, and it was a local villager, a couple actually, explained to me that what I was experiencing was sleep paralysis. And what happens in the sleep paralysis is that you can visualise things that are in your subconscious when you're dreaming, so you can bring them into your conscious mind. So even though I believe it's a science of the mind as opposed to something supernatural, when it's happening, it's very scary. But the difficulty is with this is trying to bring it into the conscious mind when you're not asleep. So what I'm referring to is this feeling of fear that I experience when I'm asleep. Sometimes I can experience that when I'm awake, i.e. if I'm in a circle at night and it's dark and stuff. I have seen shadows and fast-moving things. Like, it's difficult because these things that I have seen, they don't have identifiable features. Like, I'm wary about talking about this because I don't like to catch myself thinking about supernatural things, because I feel like to give myself a tap on the shoulder and saying, snap out of it, like don't fall into the trap of needing a crutch, needing to believe in something because my life isn't good enough the way it is. Do you know what I mean? So
sure.
But as it's Crop Circle TV, we'll walk down that road a little bit more. These shadows that I experience in the crop circles or in the trees or whatever, even sat in the car, I've felt them, I've seen them.
With other people present, you were
with
telling
other people,
me.
yeah.
Thinking that it were things shadowy moving around your car.
Yeah. Definite.
Totally.
People have acknowledged what I've seen, and I've acknowledged what they've seen, so it hasn't necessarily been my suggestion. Which that's difficult, because I'd be quite happy to think I'm paranoid or I've projected the fear out there. But when somebody confirms it with you, it's, oh dear. You're running out of options then, and you're forced to walk down the road of something dark. So yeah, if I'm honest, I'm not really sure what all that's about. I do think the human mind is the magic. The human mind is what it's all about. I don't discount other people's beliefs, because I can only learn from them and build on my own beliefs from listening to other people. But I think my general consensus is that the mind and the body does funny things to a person. And I think, I don't discount what people see, even what I see, but I do think you're probably projecting that through. People like to read into things, don't they? They're forever
sure
weighing things up. And if you benchmark a belief, you throw away a comment one day and said, right, crop circles are definitely made by aliens, then the experiences that you gain from any day, any year after that, you're constantly cross-referencing the world. So somebody might say something, somebody might draw something, you might see a photograph, whatever it may be, but the underlying belief people have is they're always right. So whatever statements that you make in your life, you're always looking to be right. So you're reading into things constantly. That's why you get your enthusiasts and your, do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Somebody was just pointing out that our ticker tape was still running, saying the show's not live. As I say, it is a live show, but because it's live, it's lively wrong. So hang on a second. Whilst I'm doing that, would you like to tell us a little bit about your actual, because you mentioned there about your sleep paralysis, but you haven't told us exactly what form the sleep paralysis used to take. Can you describe to us what you'd actually have when you would have sleep paralysis, and when was that roughly around? I think you told me when you came to Alton Barnes and you were staying with this other person before the farmer, and then you went to stay with the farmer. Was that right? Yeah.
Well, generically,
but all the time you've had this from
I've
being
always
quite young.
always had sleep paralysis. But the first time I understood that it was, the first time I understood it was going on was when I was living in this house in Alton Barnes, and I had this such a scary episode in my sleep, and that's when I became aware that I was paralysed, but I instinctively knew that it's something that had happened to me a lot as a child, but I just didn't remember. But I recognised what had happened, so I knew it had happened to me before. But yeah, so when I was about 16, moving to Alton Barnes, that's when most of my sleep paralysis has been, to be honest with you, was in Wiltshire.
And what form did that take then? Because you described some pretty scary things to me earlier on, and I know you've kind of reconciled them now, but could you go into that a little bit?
When I was living with the farmer's wife, I was living in their front room actually. I had a little bed on the floor, and I was getting sleep paralysis a lot, but this particular instance happened to me 3 nights on the trot, so one day after the other.
Right.
The first 2 nights, now I don't see anything. I don't see any black shadows, anything like that. But in these instances, I feel a force. So if you imagine you're arm wrestling somebody, and the tension that you have between the hands, that if you take away the arms and remember the tension, that's the kind of energy that I feel when this thing happens to me. What was happening to me was I was being grabbed by the scruff of the neck and dragged up the walls around the ceiling to the centre of the ceiling, and obviously scary stuff. I wake up, heart's going crazy, and try and nod off again or whatever. But it happened to be the second night, exactly the same as the first night. But on the third night, what happened to me on the third night? You know the, what's that image? Is it the Da Vinci Code?
The Da Vinci Man, I think we...
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's happening to me on the third night is I was in the centre of the room, elevated in a star position, but like a gyroscope, I was being spun in like all directions, but I started spinning so fast that I woke myself up with the sound. I heard my voice going, like I was spinning.
Right,
so
okay.
It must have been very real in my dream world what was going on.
Sure. Well, this is Da Vinci's Man. We brought it up just so people could see what we're talking about.
Mm.
It's like being inside that with your arms out spinning around, you were describing, yeah? So you basically woke up from these experiences, and then you realised that you weren't actually having the you weren't on the ceiling. You weren't getting dragged to the ceiling.
Yeah.
You were back in your bed.
Mm.
But you were certainly having such a real experience that it gave you a feeling.
The overall feeling was fear. It was I felt like I was being duped. Like, I want to say that this happened to me, but I knew I couldn't because I knew I was in my bed. But because the experiences were so real, I felt threatened, very fearful, and I felt something was... it just felt wrong. So that's why I choose to be sceptical, because I think Poppy last week was talking about Ouija boards and things like that.
Yeah.
Even though I attended a few in my childhood, I've always been very anti opening the door to that kind of thing.
Sure.
So I get to a certain point when I talk about this or think about this, but I know where my line is and I don't cross it, because to be honest, I'm happy being sceptical. I'm happy just to write it off as weird and forget about it. To me, because the experiences have been so personal and so real and scary, it's for my own mental health. Really, it's better for me not to to read too much into that. It won't serve me as a person to
Sure.
delve too much into that, you know.
Right. It's interesting as well, when you were describing to me earlier on your experiences, you did tell me that you had a very clear feeling which you got from those experiences, and that feeling was something that you have felt when you've been awake, not sleeping and not dreaming, but that feeling is very definable, and you've had it when you've been in crop circles.
See, even now, just talking about it, I get a feeling here, because I know we're at that line that I don't like to cross.
Right.
I'll speak briefly about it because it is bloody scary. Can I talk about the death of...
Yes, go ahead. You know, it's, you know, you can even mention the name if you want. It's not a problem, I don't think.
I was when I left the village, I moved to Devizes, and I was living with a couple, man and his wife, and I had my own room up there, and for a good 7 days solid I was having sleep paralysis, and I was so drained and exhausted from being so afraid of it. This one particular night was a bit peculiar, because, now bearing in mind I come from a bad background, bad upbringing, no parenting, so no dummies, no cuddles, no kisses, nothing like that. And this night was memorable for a lot more things than what I'm just going to say. This one night I was so scared in my waking mind, because I'd had so many experiences over the last 7 days. I asked if I could sleep in their room, and they put me up a bed on the floor, but we hadn't, none of us hadn't gone to bed, and I just got this force that I feel when I'm having sleep paralysis. It's my body telling my mind to be scared, to be afraid. Unlike your normal fear, where you tell yourself, "Oh, that's a bit scary," and you start biting your fingernails or moaning and groaning that it's scary. Oh, don't do that. That's fear as we all know it. But this other fear that I'm talking to you about is like with your normal fear, it's your mind telling your body, "Oh, this is scary," but it's something else when this happens. It's instinct. It's all your senses telling you, "Alert, something's wrong." And on this particular night, I'd asked these people if I could sleep in their room, which I'd never done in my life, not even as a kid, and I just had this feeling of something's wrong, and I was vocal with it. I said to these two, "There's something in this room." I was crying. I was curled up on the pillows of the bed, like in a ball. I was like, "No, something's wrong. Something's really scared." And I was watching myself, how I was reacting, and I thought, "This is peculiar. What am I losing my mind or something?" But cut a long story short, the woman died that morning. So,
yeah,
could be coincidence, but and you talk about sleep, people have told me sleep paralysis is it's something that happens to you when you're asleep. It's the 50-50 switchover point. Because when you're asleep, if people don't know what sleep paralysis is, it is a phenomena. It's when you go to sleep at night, your conscious mind enters your subconscious mind, and your body becomes paralysed. Because if you weren't paralysed, you would be reenacting.
You'd be sleepwalking.
Exactly.
You'd be moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the paralysis is a natural. That's not anything supernatural. That's not anybody interfering with me. That's natural. Everyone does that. But the problem that I have is the awareness of it.
Sure.
Which means this brain is aware of this brain when I'm entering the sleep world. So I'm projecting all the funny business that goes on in the dream world. But what I'm saying is, for this to project itself when I wasn't asleep.
Yes, when you were awakened so strongly.
That's a concern, and that is where my line is. I won't cross that now.
Sure.
because it's too scary. I'd probably have a nervous breakdown if I open that door, because it's bloody scary.
Yeah. But that feeling, you know, as I say, you were saying the feeling is so recognisable to you that you can say that you've also had it when you've been out making some crop circles.
Yeah, it's these shadows. It's like, my first thought is like a cape, you know, like a superhero has a cape, but I thought, I had to write that off in my mind. I thought, no, that's not it. And I was thinking of clouds, and I thought, no, that's not it. And I'm trying to think what it is that I see. Like I said, we're not talking about a human form with features, recognisable parts. We're talking about shadows that are mischievous, like, you know, I just can't describe it.
Okay, well,
But it's the feeling that I get with it. It's not, I don't believe it's my mind saying to me, oh, it's a bit scary out here, someone might be lurking in the crop or something. I don't care about that. If someone is there, I don't think I'd be afraid of that. I'd probably give as good as I got if there was somebody lurking in, you know, in the darkness. It's something else. This fear that I'm discussing is it's a channel. It's a different channel to what we know normally.
right.
But like I said, I'm just happy you're not really delving too much into that, really.
Right.
For my own sanity.
Okay, well, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read out some of the stuff that's been said in channel. We've got some interesting characters in here. We've got somebody called Your Worst Nightmare. We've got a regular Dion. We've got AO Scar. And we've got Colin Andrews, 01. Now, I'm not sure if that's the real Colin Andrews, but yes, he's saying, yes, I know him. He's a researcher. It could be the real Colin Andrews, and if it is, hello, Colin. We'd certainly like to have you on the show at some point, maybe get you Skyping in, because you're in the States, which is obviously a long way away. And somebody mentioned about DMT, the drug DMT being in the brain, which makes vivid dreams and certainly can be overactive.
Where would that come from?
We've all got it in us.
Yeah, but what would spark that?
Well, different people are going to trigger different levels of DMT, I think, you know, when you go to sleep. And, you know, everybody has it when they dream. So, you know, maybe there's something...
Yeah, but the argument is that I'm experiencing this outside of the dream world.
Yes. Might be a problem with the regulation of how much and when you're getting it. Maybe
That'd
you're
be
getting...
interesting to know, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, you know, you could be getting some DMT burst when you're awake. And you know, I'm not saying that's the case, but it's just been mentioned in channel, so it's worth looking at. DMT,
yeah.
Dimethyltryptamine. I tried it. We were talking about it last week.
Yeah,
when
I know
smoked.
people have talked about it, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's when the thing wrapped itself around my arm, and that was quite
weird.
weird.
So it's a drug.
It's a drug as well. Yeah, it's ayahuasca. The drug ayahuasca comes from a tree bark, I believe it is, and what they do is they grind it up. Make it into a liquid, and then they strain it off, and then you can drink it. If you don't prepare it in a certain way, I think it makes you violently ill, and I think you're violently ill anyway. You tend to throw up. But there's certain things you can take with ayahuasca. It might be mixing it with a tree bark stops you throwing up, but there's a preparation for it, and then you go on a massive trip that lasts 8-10 hours, and it'll be the biggest ride of your life type of thing, because it's very visual, very real, very full on, but it's basically what's in your brain anyway. It's a natural substance that occurs in your brain, DMT. But might be interesting for you to read up a little bit about it. Plan 9 says, Agent S, did you have any slow motion effects during your sleep paralysis? Slow motion effects.
I don't think so.
No?
Nothing's striking me straight away, no. Usually it's speed. The only thing I know is that I can't, well, sometimes I can run, but usually I'm always flying or gliding.
Right.
But I don't recall anything in slow motion.
Yes.
My mind's too active to be slow motion anyway.
Okay. Somebody says it's horrible to hear everything going on around you. I don't know whether that means horrible hearing everything that's been going on around you as a person, or whether they can hear what's going on in the room. I don't know whether that's a mic thing or whatever. But There we are. Okay, so it says somebody had learnt to control themselves and pull themselves out. This is from Crossbone. The difficult part is controlling your subconscious to override the fear.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, and somebody, AO Scar says sleep paralysis isn't good if it's too often. So
yeah, I've certainly had my share of it.
Yeah. Dion is asking, how did our friend die?
Meningococcal septicemia.
Yeah, meningitis, by another name, isn't it? It was meningitis. And very good friend of ours. And I think I spoke to them. Was I there, or I spoke to them the night before? I'd actually spoken to them. I think I left at 9 o'clock that night, and they said they were feeling a bit fluey, and then went to bed and got very ill very quickly, and by about 12 o'clock was in a lot of pain. And really, I think things kicked off early hours of the morning when it was just like, this is not like any flu.
Well, I'd been awake all night, you see, because I was scared. Even though they'd put a bed down in the bedroom, I think I felt a bit uncomfortable, like I was, what's the word, interrupting them as a couple.
Sure.
So I actually went down and watched DVD after DVD, and then about 6 a.m. I thought, right, I had the lights on, and let's try and get some sleep. And half an hour later, the husband came running down the stairs, said something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then half an hour after that, it was the ambulance, and then we both watched her die, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrible thing because it happened so quickly and was just so unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that really pretty much fine at 9 o'clock at night, and quite bad in the middle of the night, and then dead in the morning. That's how quickly it can strike. It was a very sad thing.
Well, it happened to me again shortly after, with when I had my own flat in Devizes. There was a little old lady who I become friendly with, and she invited me in for lemon meringue pie one day, and I was quite funny about lemon anyway, and I thought, oh, it's an old lady, she's probably crumbled up these stale biscuits or something, so it didn't appeal to me, so I made an excuse and said I'd pop round later or something. And I had a friend back at the flat, and we were talking about it, and I was saying this to this person. I was like, let's not talk about it too much, because she's probably dead now, and knowing my luck, that's the sort of thing that'd happen. Like throwing the comments away there, and sure enough, I came back from wherever I'd come back from, and I see the curtains were down and people moving furniture out. I was like, what's going on? And it was the son told me, oh, my mum died.
What was the time scale on you seeing her having that strange sort
of...
Oh,
about a week.
About a week.
It was when I saw the furniture going. But
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong, because after I said this to this friend, I'd made the benchmark of, okay, so I was then looking for things to read into, and one thing I saw was this leaflet was hanging out of a letterbox for 3 days.
Right.
And I don't know why I didn't knock on the door. And
so your precognition type thing that was going on, that weird feeling, well, not precognition, the strange feeling that something might be wrong, was quite close to the actual time of the lady's
definitely.
death.
Oh yeah.
But you obviously didn't work out for another couple of days because you hadn't actually followed
No,
up
I
on it.
knew,
You
because
knew.
I joked about it with this friend, this visitor I had, and I was throwing the comment away so easily that I thought, no, and because I'd said it as well, I was thinking it, and went downstairs, and the leaflet's in the letterbox, and then by the end of the week, that's when you say to yourself, well, actually the evidence was there. The leaflet was in the letterbox for 3 days after, I was meant to go and have this lemon meringue pie, and then the guilt came in. Then it's like, oh, poor old lady on a deathbed, just asking a neighbour if they want to share some lemon meringue pie, and
Oh dear.
yeah, so
What can you do with stuff like that? It's not necessarily something you should cut yourself up about.
Well, caring person, aren't I?
Yes, but I'm sure it's not your fault that. But,
Yeah.
With hindsight, we often see things and wish we'd done stuff that we don't
Yeah,
always
but it's
do.
the same for the circles, though. Like this is the point, isn't it? It's like all these wild stories that you hear happen, but how much are influenced by one's own mind.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, let's have a little look at what people are responding to. Somebody was saying they can hear in the room, so they can hear the world. You can hear the world ticking on. Crossbone says, "Oh, okay." That's
What
probably,
he's saying that he has that feeling.
I think he says in the room, as in you can hear the world ticking on. I'm not sure whether he means when you're having sleep paralysis or whether you can hear stuff going on in my room, like me playing with a pen, or
No,
what he's
I
on
don't
about.
know.
But yeah, okay, maybe we'll get to the bottom of that one. Colin Andrews asks, does your guest see the same person on repeated experience? And it says, yes, it is Colin Andrews from Connecticut. Yes. Hi, Colin.
I was looking at his Facebook page the other day, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I was debating whether to add him as a friend.
Ah, there we are.
Yeah.
Have you've met each other as well, I would imagine, over the years?
Briefly, yeah. I doubt he'd remember. I've always been a bit of a shy one in the past, so I'm not a memorable person really from the past because I'm quite shy. But what was his question?
Colin, let me just have a look. He says, does your guest see the same person on repeated experiences?
But I don't see a person.
No, maybe he's referring to the shadow figures and
Yeah.
things like that. Is it that sort of...
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well,
It's fleeting things that you can't quite make out, isn't it? It's like shadowy figures and things that have gone past the car window and you haven't really seen what it is.
Yeah, because there's been more than one on occasion, and I'd use a plural because I don't identify it as somebody, or when this is happening, I don't see it as, oh, that thing's after me again. It's them. It's like whatever it is, I should be afraid of it. But it, as in, I don't even want to know. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't. My mind doesn't see it as a single, whatever person. Certainly not a person. It's
right. Okay. Well, perhaps if you want to sort of ask another question, Colin, we'll zero in on that one for you. It says, Jimone says, some people are lightning rods for weirdness. And, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I only met Poppy last week, you see, and I was having a good chat with her, and our backgrounds are quite similar in that her family were doing witchcraft, and she'd been exposed to a Ouija board, and I had as well. Yep. And I did identify with her that the difference, because she's had a lot of darkness in her life from what I've heard, whereas I haven't really. I've had the sleep problems.
Yeah, sorry, just touching the mic. Yeah,
sorry
be
about
careful of that. That's okay.
I think.
Ouija boards and things like that, and people doing. Well, I mean, she's herself, I think, into kind of doing things, isn't she? And
but that's my point. Yeah,
making things happen. Maybe
I'd sooner not.
You don't go there.
No.
But you at least you're on the same wavelength with knowing what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing as we've mentioned it now, it might be kind of worth, because we know otherwise we'll have to come back to it again later on. It is an interesting area, talking about your family. We are going to come back to crop circles in a bit, I assure you. We're going to sort of start talking a little bit more about crop circles, but your family, fascinating. I found this when you told me. I mean,
widows.
Very weird family by the sounds. I mean, you didn't have much contact with your mum. You got brought up by your gran. A lot of strange dynamics going on in the family. The dad not around, sort of thing. And but you witnessed them doing things with witchcraft. You were describing sort of spell stuff. And how did they get involved? I think you sort of said.
I don't know. The thing, I'm completely disassociated with my family. Even as a child, I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know anything about them, basically. But I do know that I was raised by my grandmother, and the grandmother had 3 kids, so that's 2 girls and a boy. The 2 girls ended up having kids. So there was me, my cousin, and my brother. So all very uneducated, but influenced massively by the TV. Right. So when people are antisocial, they don't go around neighbours' houses to have tea, they don't go to the pub. When you've got antisocial people, uneducated, then all you've got is an imagination. My mother was certainly a compulsive liar. So what I'm saying is, I don't think they're not bright enough to pick a subject and go hell for leather into it. But I think through circumstance, my uncle was a tattooist, so he was very good at drawing samurais, the devil, Satan. So the sisters would...
As a tattooist on people?
No, not on people. He'd do himself. He was covered in tattoos. He did all his own tattoos. Because they were antisocial, they didn't go out.
Right.
He did my brother. He was going to do me one day, but I was young and he thought twice about it.
Sure.
But very artistic, but uneducated. And the only influence they had was the TV and films. So what I'm saying to you is, I think accidentally they got into witchcraft. They probably went to a jumble sale one day or something and come across a book. Because I remember books of the devil. I remember seeing scary pictures. And the aunt one day cast a spell. I don't know what she did in terms of what she said or how she cast a spell. But I remember what I saw, which was that she filled a jam jar up with... razors, screws, nails, and pissed in it basically, and then buried it at the bottom of the garden.
Yes. And this was against somebody that they knew that she didn't get on with, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, we could mention about that. I mean, do you want to? That's you've had a bit of an interesting upbringing, haven't you? Because I mean, weird family, and then you getting taken into care. I can see why you might have gotten taken into care because they had you going out thieving for them, didn't they?
I don't think they know about that. They
your auntie.
They palmed me off as the misbehavioural child who had a temper.
Yes.
So bad that a home tutor was too afraid to tutor me.
But somebody in your family had you going out doing their little errands for them.
Well, they all did except my mother. So I had all the family getting me out to go and steal money, rob houses and things. And the mother is the one that grasped me up to the police twice when she found out about it.
Yeah,
so
that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't want to bother bringing you up, but then grassed you up to the police.
What it was is my auntie was sending me stealing, and when I got caught, I got caught out by this woman one day, and I was so ashamed of myself and embarrassed that I just covered my face and hid in a corner, and she had to get a paper boy to climb through the toilet window and open the door so she could grab me out of it.
But these people, obviously, I mean, I'm just giving a background to the fact that, they didn't seem to have a problem with sending you out to steal things, and they were a little bit steeped in this witchcrafty type thing that was going on.
Well, what I was going to say is because I got caught, this woman didn't want anything to do with me, so it meant that my auntie couldn't send me to steal money anymore.
Yes.
Hence the pissing in the pot.
So she wasn't happy with,
She cast a spell.
She cast a spell on her to try and...
and she died.
And she died, yeah.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the punchline.
Yeah. There it is.
That must have been a bit weird for you as a kid, kind of growing up with that. I mean, you see things like that, and did it affect you?
This is my point that I'm trying to illustrate, which is, as I'd like to see myself as quite sane, but when it comes to all these stories, with a background like that, you could see why somebody like me would come into an area like this, see a circle and be like, oh, wow, and I could go in any direction, couldn't I, really?
Sure.
But I choose not to. I choose to, at the end of the day, no one's going to figure anything out, are they? All you can do is clutch at straws and read into things. That's all you can do, and get somebody else to verify your experience. That's all you can do, whether it's religion, circle making, seeing UFOs, seeing balls of light. The underlying principle is it's about the human mind is responsible for their own beliefs in the way that they read into things.
Yeah, I think it's great that you've stayed as sane as you are, and that
but it's a choice.
Yes, you're looking for rational explanations, and I think that you're sort of trying to not make the mistakes that your parents were trying to get you involved in certain things, and you've kind of steered clear of it and tried to sort of keep yourself on a sort of sane and stable level as much as one can.
People have different experiences. If mine hadn't been so dark, there's every chance that I could be hugely excited by the whole circle making UFO thing.
Mm.
You know, there's every chance that I could have been that person, but it's through my experiences that have made me who I am, which is someone that's very sceptical. But what I was going to say then was, in reality, if you did try and work out what it was all about, and you think that the world and the human society was man-made, i.e. there is a God or something like that, if something's got the power to do that and to allow all the violence and rape and all the bad stuff that happens in the world, if someone created us and then can watch and let that happen, then, because you have to look at nature as well, it is a dog-eat-dog world. You either die of hunger or you go and kill to eat. So nature isn't fluffy, and people think life should be fluffy, and it isn't. And I think it's pure chance on how you're brought into the world and brought up. But my point is that it does come down to your experiences that gives you, I was going to say, the freedom to believe what you want to believe, but you're trapped by your own experiences, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
No one's that free, I don't think.
Right. Okay. Mention a little bit about. I'm. We're dwelling on these subjects, but just before we go off it, then you mentioned something about a Ouija board. That you witnessed somebody doing something with a Ouija board. How did you get involved in that, and what was your experience then? Did anything happen?
They were all telling us stories when we were kids. My mother, my cousin's mother, saying about. I think they may have even showed us how to do the Ouija board. I can't remember, if I'm honest with you. Telling us stories about the questions that they asked on the Ouija board and the answers they got. And there was an instance where they said they knew that number 7 bus something was gonna happen, and they were warned not to catch that bus. And sure enough, this bus drove straight into a wall and killed whoever on it. So I had the stories there. So, and obviously as a kid, even kids today, if they watch a film like of martial arts or something, they want to go and pretend to be that superhero or whatever. As a kid, you're very influential. So the first thing me and my cousin wanted to do was go around a friend's house and try the Ouija board. And I just remember, because I started to tune in to what was going on, this friend had posters around the walls, and I was feeling the eyes from the posters and things. And I'm quite happy to believe that was me projecting a fear at that time. But that was enough for me. At that age, at that time, was enough for me to say, no, this isn't what I want.
Sure.
And I didn't.
Yeah, okay. Well, great. That's quite interesting stuff there. I'm just going to make a little reference to the chat window that we've got going on, because there's people asking us questions, and if you wondered what all that means, basically if you scroll down in your chat, scroll your live screen window down, then there's a little box, and it looks a little bit something like this, and there are people chatting away and typing things in that window. You can see Jimone, Alf, Colin Andrews. So Jimone is asking, where was Agent S from originally?
Hampshire.
Gosport. Right. That's Portsmouth, isn't it? Is it Portsmouth, Southampton, Gosport?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Leon the Solent was the actual place I lived.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, basically tap in your chat window down at the bottom, and if you want to Skype into the show, we've got a Skype address. So the Skype address is CirclemakersTV. So you need to add us in your Skype, CirclemakersTV, and then you can Skype the show, which we'll be doing in a little bit. So send us a message saying, I would like to be on the show, in your Skype chat thing. Also, if you haven't seen our website, we've got a website called CirclemakersTV.org, and that will feature information about the program, times, and other information about how to contact us. And don't forget your live stream chat window. So, without further ado, we shall ask a question from the chat window. So, Okay, someone told me that when we experience the things we need to in life in regards to being reincarnated, okay, someone told me that we experience the things we need to in life in regards to being reincarnated. So basically, you know, you're getting sort of an idea of what the world is like. You're sort of getting a sort of influence with things that happen to you in life that tell you about your reincarnations. Does that resonate? Do you think you're reincarnated?
No, I don't believe that. However, I have delved in those thoughts. Like, even recently, I've thought to myself, when I have these deja vus, I don't get I've been here before. I've been here 3-4 times before. So that does make me think, if it is that we, you know, we've had a life before, and you know, then if I did follow that trail of thought, then I've definitely been here a few times. So I'm obviously a slow learner.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Back to crop circles, then. We better sort of move this on in the direction of how things happen.
Right.
So you lived with a farmer that was very involved in crop circles, believed in it wholeheartedly.
Yes.
Would never have anybody say a bad word about crop circles. Loved it. Thought it was the biggest thing since sliced bread. And you decided, because you were kind of, you know, open-minded, you could see potentially both sides going on. You wanted to know the answers. You weren't closing yourself off to, you know, is it humans? Is it aliens? What is it? You know, you were kind of looking at all the sides. Is that a fair thing?
Well, I'd already had
say?
my doubts from living with somebody who was so pro that kind of environment, you know, the aliens and the crop circles and things.
Yeah.
I already had my doubts, because when you listen to someone's belief systems for so long, you know, when you're in somebody's company for a long time, you get to hear all of it. You do spot the contradictions and things a lot quicker. So I already had my doubts that you know, that they weren't genuine.
Sorry, I just got something in my eye. Right, so you had your doubts there, and then you went to the barge a lot. You know, you were sort of.
Well, I worked there. Yeah.
Oh, right, you worked at the barge for a while. Yeah, I mean, it was your local.
Yeah.
A couple of minutes down the road, it's the only pub in the area.
Yeah.
You know, I assume you didn't. Did you have transport? So when
No,
you
not
first came there?
first. No.
So you would have had to have gone to the local pub, being the barge. That was
Yeah.
it, wasn't it?
I used to cycle everywhere.
Ah, right, I see. But being in the barge, did you bump into circle makers?
Loads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you were quite okay with that, and they were okay with you, was it? How
Well,
did you?
I think the circle makers, I won't call them mischievous, but I think they're what word? Subtle, like
Suggestive.
Suggestive, like, you know, when I've got somebody who's telling me that their circles are made by aliens and things, obviously, when you're young, you copy what people say, and you present other people's words and see what reaction you get. So I had instances where people were trying to tap me on the shoulder and say, listen. So I was starting to be aware that there were circle makers around me, and slowly but surely, you know, I was, I wouldn't say I was coaxed, but I think I was actually quite enthusiastic to. I can't help but call it the dark side. Because it's been drummed into me that the circle makers are bad.
You can't have really thought it was the dark side, though, because that was
I
something
use it in humour.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
If it was something you would have avoided, like the plague, because you thought, like, hello, that's not right, you know, and you got bad vibes from it, you probably would have steered away from it.
Yeah.
So you thought you were dealing with a bunch of people, and they were out making the circles. You were quite happy with that sort of thing.
Well, it was educating me. I was, you know, I was becoming a saner person. You know, if I'd gone down the other road, I'd be one of these
believers.
What do you call them? People that really believe in fairies and magical stuff. Eccentric is the word, I think.
Well, eccentric is just the way you behave, I think. I mean, you can be eccentric and believe in strange things, but I think eccentricity is just, I just act like a weird person and talk all funny and I move around bizarre. That's me. I'm eccentric. I think when you're a believer, you kind of touch maybe, or religious, or, you know, out there. Somebody in channel will come up with a good word. Anybody got a good word for it in channel?
No, I think eccentric actually suits it.
Eccentric.
For my feelings on it, yeah. I think I would see myself as eccentric if I'd gone along the paths of thinking that I was led to believe
Eccentric's an interesting word from the point of view of crop circle makers, because I think when something is very circular, it's uniform circular, but when it's eccentric, it's something that doesn't go on it's something that doesn't go on a perfect path.
But that's correct though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like somebody that's got the outer angle of the,
But that's what
an oval.
That's why things are taboo or strange or weird, is when things don't sit in line with society, isn't it?
I think eccentric might even mean out of balance, like one thing is,
that's
is
how I would
more
use
on
it,
one side than another.
That would suit me.
Sure, okay. That's cool. So, and the opposite would be concentric, which is concentric rings, or eccentric or concentric. Somebody gave us in the channel. So, you met some circle makers, and what did they offer to do?
You tell me, Mr. Williams.
It was me, was it?
Was it you? Oh no,
Was it me?
Oh no, it wasn't. No.
Or was it
Was it?
Paul? Or was it me? First off, I don't know.
No, the HTV one I think was the first.
Oh yes, but meeting. I'm on about meeting.
Oh, meeting,
people in the barge. Do you remember who it was you met first, or?
Good question.
It might have been me.
Yeah.
I think you were friendly with Andy Beatty, Grant Wakefield.
Yeah.
Those sorts of people.
Yeah.
Grant Wakefield did the
Dan.
Circle Makers documentary. I'm friendly with Dan. Yes, Dan, who's still at the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then you got friendly. You had a chat, and then somebody said, "Oh, you want to come out and see how it's done?" Or we need an extra hand.
Yeah.
You were treated with any caution, or did people just sort of say, "Hey, yeah, coming out"? How did it work for you?
I found the circle makers to be kind of professional in what they were doing. They didn't want anyone messing around or fucking up their design, or but also I did sense a bit of there was a test of trust going on,
Sure.
like unspoken test of trust, like I was in the magic circle or something. I did sense those things, but that was all right because I was. I want to say I was a trustworthy person, but after the things I've said tonight,
well, we can all change.
No one's going to be too sure of that.
No, I think you had a lot of that thrust upon you, and it wasn't necessarily you.
Yeah.
The way your family was behaving didn't sound like you, and it seems like you've come a long way on your own 2 feet and probably in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other people will probably take the credit for it, but
sure. But so you got invited out, and it was a little bit of a test of trust, as it usually is, just to see that you make something and then don't go blabbing, because a lot of people do get a bit over excited when they make a circle and want to tell all their friends and everybody must know, and but you weren't one of those. You were very good.
But even so, I was still I remember when we went and did the HTV one with yourself. Who else was there?
I think it might have been Dan, may have been Paul. I'm not quite sure at the moment.
And another Matt, isn't it?
And Matt B. Yeah.
When you all stood up, this is the first time I'd heard it being spoken of,
right,
by talking to people, but I hadn't seen it for myself. But when you all stood in a line and I kind of followed suit, and you were doing this universal intelligence, and you're doing what I call a prayer.
Yes, the oration, we call it, but yes, it is a prayer. It is a prayer.
It is a prayer.
Same thing. Yeah.
And I thought this built on my idea that people in life need a crutch. Even the circle makers need to believe in something. Like the fact that you're saying a prayer to, it might as well be God, because you don't know if it's God, and you don't know if it's a super intelligent. No one knows. You just know there's something that you're praying to. So that was quite enlightening for me to see, because I thought I'd been told the circle makers were the dark side. They were the Satanists and the bad people, and then they all stood up in a line doing a prayer, and I'm like, hang on a minute, what? So they're not trying to fuck with my head then? They're not trying to what? Why would circle makers who are there to con people, which is what I was told.
Sure.
Why? It was just really enlightening for me. Why would people stand up and say a prayer before? It was like saying prayer before you eating your dinner, isn't it? Like you were saying this prayer before you laid down this crop. So, in essence, what you were doing was on the good side.
Yes.
On the light side.
Yeah.
You know.
Unless we had our fingers crossed, perhaps, you know, behind our backs. And we're
Well-
like, down, 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 down. She can't see through us. No.
But you know, I said there was this test of trust that I felt coming from you guys. I was testing as well by being present there. And I think that's what helped shape some of the beliefs that I have, you know, which I've discussed. But yeah, it was really, I just didn't trust. I didn't trust the circle makers, but I came away trusting them more so than the people that were telling me not to trust them, i.e. the researchers.
Well, yeah, it's one thing to kind of hear that people are a load of bastards, but I've generally gone on the... I mean, I judge people, but I always say, well, okay, if I got to know that person, I'd probably realise I was wrong. You know, I'm quick to judge.
Yeah, but this is what you judge. This is the common trait of people, isn't it? People listen to the words that are said and they judge on those.
Yeah.
Whereas I often use the expression, you know, judge the actions, not the words.
Yes.
Because if you think in hindsight of what I've just said, a circle maker is saying a prayer before laying the crop. You know, they're professional in what they do. They don't attract, you know, problems when they're doing what they're doing. But yet on the flip side of it, being told that you guys are Satan and you're the devils or whatever, you've got the researchers who are advertising themselves as light and projecting something of godly nature. You know, what we do is good work, you know. But all it is money. I've heard everyone say this as well.
Yeah, we can come back to that because being on the farm, you got to see just how much money was actually brought in. I think.
Well, in this instance, I can only speak on my experiences. I can't generalise too much, but yeah, I did have a nice little holiday in Portugal.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the takings of standing on the edge of the field, taking the money.
Yeah.
From one particular. I mean, was that? Did you give some back to the farmer and keep some for yourself?
I know it wasn't my money. I was like the surrogate daughter, if you like, to the farm, because I became part of the family of these farmers.
Yes.
Obviously, crops gets damaged. The farmers lose a lot of money. So on this, I don't know how often it took place, but on this occasion, myself and a couple of mates from the village was sat up there charging to go into the circle, and all the money went back. But
how much do they used to charge to go in per person?
I'm trying to think. I was trying to think that earlier. It was something like £2
Right.
per person, £2.50 even.
And how many people would you say went in, and how much money was collected?
Well, I believe it was about £3,000 that was earned.
In how much space of time?
Oh God, I don't know. Week, 2 weeks, I don't know.
Not bad.
I don't know.
Not bad.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I was ignorant to it. I'm calling from my past. You see, I don't.
Well, at the time, I mean, I've been told that the crop in some of these cases, I mean, can be, you know, anything from £20 up to, you know, a couple of £100.
Well, this was a pretty big circle.
Yeah.
It was pretty intricate. So there was a lot of. If you're looking at it as a farmer and damage, that was, you know.
It was a biggie.
Yeah.
And do you remember which one it was? Just out of interest.
Yeah, it was the. Think of loads and loads of circles going around like a gyroscope.
Right.
On it's not Woodbury Hill, the other side on the Pusey Road.
Right.
Do you know which one I mean?
Eastfield. Yeah.
On the opposite side of Eastfield. So it's on the hill there.
Southfield, is it?
I don't know. I presumably it was.
Woodbury
yeah.
Hill Field. Oh, I think I know the one you mean. Hang on a
Is
sec.
it not in the?
Yes, we've got it. Yeah. We'll bring it up now. Hang on. I've got to press some buttons and then something will happen. So yes, a lot of money then, basically.
Well, you know that's all right for someone like me to say, you're a circle maker, but you're not the farmer at the end of the day. So even though we went on holiday, presumably that damage was already accounted for some way.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, we've got the picture now. So it was on this one, which it was on the south side. So I think it's called Southfield, which backs onto Woodbury Hill. And it was actually, I think this one was directly between Woodbury Hill and it's called Tan Hill, I think. It's like,
Don't know.
so you've got a little dip, and it goes to this little peaky hill.
Well, it was right on the, it sloped up the hill.
That's right.
So if you're going to Pewsey from Devizes,
Yeah.
instead of it being left on Eastfield, it was just up there on the hill on the right.
Yeah, I think if you stood on top of Woodbury Hill, facing east, and you'd see a little hill called Tan Hill, I think it is, and it's there.
Yeah.
I think it's called Tan Hill or Pict Hill or something like that. But yeah, very complicated design. We can actually bring it up full screen, show you. Yeah, and that brought in about £3,000 in a week or 2 weeks.
I don't know of the timescale.
Seems like a lot more.
Because it wasn't just me charging, you see.
Oh, so you weren't there all the time?
No, the farmer had been up there. The farmer's wife had been up there. Loads of people had been up there doing shifts.
Right, I see. So you took that money in a shorter period of time. So they would be up there in the morning. You'd be up there in the afternoon.
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
Right. So it could be a lot of money was taken for that. And your reward for your hard work was to be given some money.
Well, no, it wasn't reward for that. It meant that they were going on holiday anyway. But it meant that they could afford to take me
you
along with them.
Yeah. So this paid for them to go on holiday and you.
Yeah.
So it paid for everyone's holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I went instead of the farmer.
Right.
So it was myself, the farmer's wife, and the kids.
I see. Okay, well, it's interesting, isn't it, that farmers do say that they don't make anything out of these things, but sometimes when they do charge, they can actually make a decent profit.
Yeah, but I don't think you can draw to conclusions on that really, because at the end of the day, if I'm sure when you went to the court case, wasn't there a price tag attached to the damage that you'd caused?
Yeah, I mean, my one that I got arrested for, with the sevenfold star, was a pretty small formation, really. But I think by the weight of crop, we were talking, we worked out it was a couple of pounds worth, basically, and probably no more. Well,
the court agreed that, did they? From what the farmer said, I thought.
Well, the farmer had no qualification whatsoever to say that he wanted £400, and what we said is, well, how much was actually damaged in weight, and can you quantify that value against the price of crop? And I brought in the value of crop by weight, and the farmer says, well, I can't qualify it at all by weight, I don't know. And I said, well, actually, there's obviously a lot of exaggeration goes on with people saying these cost thousands of pounds, but the weight of crop, and my estimation is that this would definitely not be above £20 worth of crop in weight.
Yeah, but you're fighting that as somebody who's been arrested for vandalism.
Yes.
But I'm thinking about the farmer at the minute, which is, it was a dying trade, farming industry. All the small farms were going out of business, and all the big farms were getting bigger. It was a very bad industry to be in, really, at that time. So they were probably well within their rights to exaggerate the cost of the damage. But who am I to say it was an exaggeration? Who are any of us to say? Because farming is an industry, isn't it?
Well, I maybe say that they weren't within their rights to exaggerate it, but might be motivated to exaggerate it, but they weren't within their rights to, because what actually happened was the judge said, if you can't quantify the value of the crop, then you get nothing. Because you can't just make it up. You can't sort of go, oh, well, we're going to persecute one circle maker for all the other circle makers' damage, over the years.
But then the farmer was unprepared for that question as well, so
yes.
Perhaps he could have proved.
If he'd had enough time, he could have probably gone away and got the values, and we could have argued it out further. But on that occasion, he was basically told, if you can't quantify it and you haven't got the actual figures of weight and size and everything worked out, then you can't just make up a figure off the top of your head.
But in my mind, of all the people that should make any money out of circles, it should be the farmers.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Full stop.
Yeah.
But that's when, it's everybody knows it's the researchers that make the money out of it.
Yes.
Out of somebody else's artwork and somebody else's damaged crop. Like it's the researchers that make the money.
Yes.
So that's why it's a bit of a cult, and there's so much bad feeling, is because it's about money at the end of the day.
Sure.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is about money. It certainly seems to be. Let's have a little look on through the chatty window and see what people have been chatting about. Right, somebody was Hedge Red was saying about DMT opening up the neuroreceptors. And
I'm going to look that up. That sounds quite interesting.
yeah, Wraithy has said that the newly discovered asteroid 2011 CA7 is flying past Earth today, only 63,000 miles away, or a quarter of the distance to the Moon, at about the size of a Volkswagen. I suppose if that's travelling very fast, that's probably quite a sort of risk if it was to come and hit us. Probably sort of would that end life on Earth? Something being that big? I've heard mention about that. That's quite close, isn't it? A quarter of the distance to the Moon, and it's passing us. You know, we never know how lucky we are really to be here with these things.
I don't even think about that. I don't think that I'm lucky to be here. I'm just pretty ignorant with all that stuff. Because if something does happen, you can't prepare for something like that, can you? Just get on with what you're doing.
No, I don't think you could prepare for something like that. And if it happened, it would all be over very quickly. So.
Yeah, I'd want it to be over quickly. I wouldn't want to spend a day knowing that I was going to get blown up by some asteroid.
Yes. Wraithy is saying Matty, ? So I don't know what you want, but yes, I am here. Okay, the farmer, no, it's to the land, the farmer, good point, the people who visit, blah, 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 because they give a asterisk, I don't know what they're talking about there. But anyway, they look like a shitty bunch so far, says Jimone. Don't know what he's talking about there, but whoever they are, they look like a shitty bunch. The distribution of the powers of deity are traditionally depicted as 6 small circles placed evenly around the triple solar wheel of spiritual, natural, and social law. These divine qualities are, and then he goes on. I can't see where he's. If he went on, he didn't. He didn't finish.
Is he regarding that circle? Because that's more than 6. That's 12, isn't it? 12 circles.
12 concentric rings, I think. I can actually sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rings I count on that one there. That's just from the centre to the edge. That's what I'm getting from it, but I could be wrong. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah, he's talking about a particular type of design, I think. So, if anybody wants to Skype in, don't forget, send us a quick Skype message, because we haven't got anybody who's said they want to Skype us so far.
No one wants to chat to us.
Nobody wants to chat at the moment. They probably will. And we've got half an hour of the show to go, so we should get somebody in fairly soon. I think Goat Boy might have hit it on the head. It's called Picked Hill, as in Picked, Picked Hill. Picked Hill is the one between Woodborough Hill and Picked Hill, which is where this formation appeared. It's kind of an interesting formation because it has this optical illusion effect where it looks a little bit like it looks like there's spirals going out, but in fact, if you look at the way that it's designed, it's made up of triangles, but it looks like there's sort of spiral arms spiraling out, like a vortex, but it's made up. It's an optical illusion, basically, these spirals that come out. So, very interesting. There's somebody called Swim has said, do they claim for wind damaged crop? Yeah, the farmers do. They claim they've got insurance policies on, not every farmer, but I think a lot of them do have insurance policies out, and they can claim for the wind damaged crop.
I think they lose a lot, which is why they exaggerate it. When someone does damage it, you become a bit of a scapegoat for the farmer, I suppose, because there is a lot of pigeons as well. They do a lot of damage to the crop.
Yes.
So the farmers lose out on a lot.
Sure. And then, of course, some farmers can reclaim the crop by putting the blades down a little bit lower, and so they can even reclaim that crop. They might even claim that it was damaged and make a claim when they've actually managed to get the crop back.
Well, to be honest, I don't know the real answer to that. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah. Okay. They were talking about, Matt, they were talking about why the oration was done. So, okay, we're talking about why the oration is done. And I think they were talking in channel about why the oration is done. It's hard to follow the train sometimes, but yeah, I mean the oration. Going into that is
what were we talking about?
They're talking in channel a little about the oration thing.
What is the oration thing?
The oration, the prayer.
Oh
Oration,
yeah, sorry, I
prayer.
call it a prayer. You call it that, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Talking about that, we basically have had enough experiences to know that something is going on, and I'm not pinning it on any particular thing that's causing the strange effects, but I mean I know that something's going on, so I'm probably a little bit like yourself. I'm not pinning it on a particular god or aliens or whatever, but I just know that something's going on. So what I do with the oration is literally I'm just throwing it out to whatever it is or whoever it is.
So it's generic then?
It's just I know something's going on because we've had enough weird things going on to know, and I know that people get a lot from this. So whatever it is out there, I hope you like what we're doing. And if you are out there and you've got some influence over this circle, put some nice energies in there because we're trying to. So if you can put them in, we're trying to put them in. Let's have a good time, and that's what we just... It's kind of very informal. We don't try to make it like a proper prayer. But, even though it's not like a proper prayer, we started saying Amen at the end because it's almost like you need to close the bloody thing. It's like you've said something.
You behave in a way and you don't realise it sometimes.
Yeah, it's conditioning, social conditioning.
Yeah.
You kind of... whatever's out there, please give us the intelligence to create a good circle tonight. Give us some inspiration. I hope that somebody has weird experiences from this. Thanks very much. Amen. It just seemed to close it, and then we sort of stuck with it. So it's not because any of us were particularly religious before doing this, but it's just like I think sometimes we've even changed it. We've actually said like ho, like the Native American Indians. We've gone like ho at the end, but we've got to be a bit quiet because we can't go screaming out loud.
Ho, ho,
You're like
ho.
ho, all of us, yeah.
Do you have multiple belief systems then? I'm wondering if it's possible for people to support more than one belief.
I do, yeah.
What I was going to say is, and I may be at risk of contradicting myself here as well, I have been following a belief system for a couple of years now, maybe even a bit longer than that, and that's the law of attraction, The Secret.
Right, yeah.
Because there's nothing dark about it really, it's all fluffy and light. So I've been experimenting with that and that's quite spooky. But with these circle makers and believers and non-believers, I'm wondering if there is a consistency of people that believe in more than one thing. Can you believe in God and believe in aliens coming down and making circles? Is it possible for someone to concentrate their thoughts on more than one area?
I think so, because ultimately, if aliens had a hand in making people do certain things in crop circles, I mean, maybe there have been one or two, I don't know. I would think in the smaller amount of figures of circles that could have been created by something else, not human. But if there's one or two, if they really were one or two, and I'm not saying there aren't, then what made those?
I was going to say,
what made them?
So then in our minds of God believers, do we believe that aliens have the same God as us?
Well, this is what I was going to come on to is, well, if you say, well, it could be God or something like an intelligent force that is non-material, which is almost like a god, something like a god or God, if there is such a thing, then you could also say, well, maybe, God uses aliens as kind of like he uses us, maybe we're all kind of like out there doing something because we feel we need to, or we've got a connection with it. And maybe aliens are looking at us thinking, maybe these guys are connected to their God. Maybe these guys are thinking it's God, and maybe we don't have a God, and maybe we feel like we want to know what these guys are doing. So maybe that's the reason that aliens are around. Maybe they're kind of looking for spirituality themselves. I mean,
I wouldn't see that as God. I would think to myself, if how I spoke about you being brought up in different environments, I have my beliefs based on how I was brought up. But if I had different beliefs, it would be because I had a really good upbringing or something like that. Equally, if aliens existed, surely evolution would be the difference between that upbringing and that upbringing.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe the alien is evolution of the human, but
Yes.
just a simple change.
Maybe
we ate differently, or why would, for us to believe in aliens, why would they have to be exactly the same as us? Why,
Yes, or some people have said maybe from the future. Even it might be us from the future coming back.
That's what I mean. You just think it's all about imagination, isn't it?
Mm.
It's as complex as your mind can build it.
Yes, it's but I suppose I do think that maybe aliens are kind of under a god, I suppose. So maybe they're asking questions like we're asking questions, or maybe they're wondering why we ask such stupid questions when they don't have those beliefs. Maybe they're all very clinical and they're like, look at these strange human beings. Why do they believe in this stuff? It is weird. We must find out what is going on, and maybe they see this strange things happening. I mean, I don't know whether those aliens are shadow figures, or maybe the aliens are there hovering around in a UFO trying to catch what those shadow figures are because they're wondering about it themselves.
My belief and my fear is that if after death that we go somewhere and we get the opportunity to find out what it's been about, or what some of it's been about, I have a pretty certain idea that we're all going to be very disappointed. I think our human belief systems are going to be so trivial to what it's all about, and so it would be, you might as well just forget about it. Do you know what I mean? I think that our importance is so small that we would be, if embarrassment was measured, there wouldn't be a calculator, a measuring stick long enough to measure how embarrassing people would be when they find out the truth, how silly they were in in believing all these things. That's what I think anyway.
Yes. Okay. Jimone is asking, what is the law of attraction? You started on it, but you didn't explain. The Secret, the law of attraction.
I've got a copy of it. I can send it to you if you want the video.
It's available. You can watch bits of it. Like you type in The Secret into YouTube. Any particular names of people?
What's her name? Ronan? I'm trying to remember the author's name. I can't remember. Ruby or something.
Okay, we can look it up.
Yeah. Basically, the underlying message is, it's like the universe is your genie. Rub the lamp 3 times and your wish is my command. It's basically saying that whatever you desire, whatever you wish, you can have. But there is a method to it, which is everything that you think about, no matter if it's positive, negative, if you fear something, etc., then it will manifest.
Attract it to you.
Yeah.
Like magnetism, the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is it Rhonda Byrne, I think you?
Yeah.
Rhonda Byrne.
Yeah.
And is it mainly surrounding a book, or is because it is a DVD and it's very popular as a DVD, isn't it?
Yeah, that came after, but the book's good. I mean, I like the video because I'm a lazy reader. I don't read a lot. But the video is very commercial. It's very it's been designed to sell, basically.
Right.
You'll see that. But all the speakers are salesmen, millionaires, and these are people that have exercised this system.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% on it, but I've decided to follow it as a conscious decision, and I'm going to give it a go, and a lot of things I have seen evidence of it so far. And I've put from this system that it teaches you, I've put my beliefs into something that should be happening in May. So when May comes, then that will be the deciding factor if this is something I believe in or not.
Okay. It's www.thesecret.tv. And if you type that into your browser, you should get to it. Just type in The Secret into Google. It seems to bring it up pretty quickly. I've had a look at the DVD. I'm not sure if it's completely for me, just by the style of the actual way it's presented. But
if you can get past that.
Yeah, it's very it's like Deepak Chopra on speed. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, look at us, we're so good. If you do this will happen. It's really wonderful.
That's what they're like.
Yeah, it's very cheesy.
But they're the right people to sell it, because they are the people that have got everything.
Oh yeah, they done something right, I think. Yeah, along the way. Okay, let's have a look at what people are saying in channel. So we've got we create our own reality, Hedge Dread says.
Yeah, I agree.
And Dorothy goes on to say, how can you believe that we are here alone just by accident?
Because I'm ignorant.
Yeah.
Because the question is so big, my ego isn't big enough to handle it.
Yeah. He might have been referring to people in channel, but yeah, okay, there's the answer to that one. Buddha777 says, we have lost the ability to attract this energy back.
No.
And then to use back, then they used to meditate quite frequently. So, we used to meditate and we had this energy under a bit more control, but now...
Yeah, but meditation is an art form of applying that method, isn't it?
Focusing.
Who says you have to, do that to be in tune with attraction? Because I believe I do it, but I wouldn't meditate ever. Because that's too spiritual for me.
Okay. So maybe, it's about one's own confidence.
Fair comment.
I've often heard it described that people who are extremely arrogant almost with their belief systems, that they will do this and they will do that, and they tend to get what they want because they're very focused on a particular thing.
Yeah, but it's, don't forget, law of nature.
Yes.
It's dog eat dog world.
Yes.
If
you get people who are a little bit more wobbly with their own feelings about themselves, their own beliefs, then they attract a lot of strange things around them, perhaps.
The sharks are bigger than the fish. It's as simple as that, isn't it? People that fight for what they want, no matter how... The law of attraction will tell you it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, it has no relevance at all. Like, your wish is their command. It's like, whether you're a complete tosser, an arsehole, or spiritual guide, whatever your situation, personality, method is, you get what you want.
Right. Simple as that.
There's no rules, there's no right or wrong.
Yep.
There's no you can't have that or you can't have that. You want it, you can have it. And it's about how hard you work to get it.
Yes. Buddha777 says, increasing magnetism. We resonate at such a low level that it's not as effective until we are truly free.
I've got a connection with magnetism. I had this quite strongly in certainly when I was taking a lot of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I had this affinity with magnets, and my body was a magnet, and I had this big issue with magnets when I was younger. Like, I thought perhaps if I was an engineer or if I studied magnets, I would find some groundbreaking new medicine or something. I just had this affinity with magnets when I was younger.
Right. Okay.
But that all got diluted when I left Wiltshire.
Right. And you've been quite successful, I should say. I mean, you've had quite a few good jobs and had a house and stuff like that. You sort of very sort of you got past your beginnings then, should be said. You didn't end up not being able to work and things. You got yourself into good jobs and found out that you were pretty good on computers and things like that. So your work life has been okay. It didn't sort of hold you back that your parents had done all those sorts of things. Right then, I was interested as well. You going back to crop circles. You went out and made some with us. You went out and we showed you the ropes, and one of your early ones was the HTV circle. That was at Yatesbury. What were your experiences there then with the actual making of the circle after
It was bloody exhausting.
Yeah.
I thought I was quite fit back then, but it was quite tough on the old legs.
Yeah, it's not what people think, is it?
No,
they think
you got to be fit to do it.
Yeah. And what about being able to work out at night? A lot of people say, "Oh, you can't work at night. It's impossible."
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think then?
But don't forget, I came from the other side first of all, and but this is what I mean. This is why I don't get so arrogant with belief systems, because if your imagination can't figure out how someone's done that, it doesn't mean to say that they didn't.
Yes.
And so watching you guys and coming in, making circles with you, and seeing all the tricks of the trade, like keep the tape measure low to stop the moon reflecting on, you know, and shining and
Yes.
drawing attention and all these little things. And I wasn't artistic enough to come up with that idea on my own without experiencing it. So that was quite good to, you know, to reveal all these. I've got all these voices going around me saying this is what they are, aliens and all this lot, and then to watch it unfold in front of me, it's like it just made me feel really stupid to be a human being.
Really stupid?
Yeah, because like I said to you,
Because you may have
don't
believed...
forget, I'm speaking as a 20-year-old now, because I'm referring to the times when I went into a circle on my own. My feelings were that all these people around me are telling me that you know, these circles are messages from aliens, messages from God. We must adhere to these messages and follow these messages and be better people. And there's the evidence unfolding in front of me, and I'm party to it. It's like, I don't look at an individual person that was telling me their beliefs and think to myself, oh, what a dickhead, or anything like that. It just makes me feel inside, we as humans are just not very intelligent. So I'm going against what Bob and Fanny think, in that we are wonderful human beings and we're capable of these amazing things. I'm saying we haven't even scratched the surface on how clever we could be if we weren't so fickle. Do you know what I mean?
Very interesting point. So going back to our chat channel, where how can something be too spiritual? Have you not a spirit? This is Hedge Red.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't really understand that question.
Well, how can something be too spiritual? Have you not a spirit? You know, how can something be too spiritual? Don't know. I mean, I would say if you have something which is spiritual, and you have something that's very spiritual.
What's too spiritual for me would be putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because you've got no element of doubt then, and you're going to be less interested in something somebody else is saying that's unassociated with crop circles. Like to put all your eggs in one basket, you're closed minds to other things, aren't you?
Yes.
So I'm saying, you know, don't be OTT on anything really. Just you know, everything at small doses really.
Okay. Agent S, this is World Traveller. You say your mind is always busy. This could be a coping mechanism. You possibly have a great advantage in your sleep paralysis being able to dream whilst conscious.
People have said that.
Yeah, and it can fast track attraction. So, being able to dream whilst conscious can fast track attraction.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, okay. And we're just wondering if anybody can Skype in. CircleMakers Skype seems to be offline. Is anyone else trying to contact the show? I don't know if anyone else can see it. I can see Dorothy. I can see Green Pete. We've got a couple of people now, actually. Yeah, we've got two. We've got Dorothy and James. So let's just see if they want to Skype in. Whilst I'm looking at that, would you like to tell us about the Chair Hill circle that you were at? And I'm going to have a look at which ones want to come online. Chair Hill? You were at Chair Hill? That was a weird one. You were there when the time shift thing happened. Can you explain a little bit about the time?
I'm a visual person. I need to see the crop circle.
Right, but I'm just.
I know what the experiences you're on about.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and find it for you in a second. It's I'm not sure if I've got that one up, but can you
time lapses and stuff.
What happened with the time effects? Because you were actually present with Dr. Simeon Hine was there.
Yeah.
Lisa who passed away was there as well. With Matt, husband.
Well, it was meant to be 1 o'clock, wasn't it? We asked you what the time was.
Or I asked the time, and somebody gave me 1 o'clock, and then yeah.
That's when we realised it was at 1 o'clock an hour ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were actually present with that.
I
How did that make you feel? Were you feeling anything that night? Because I think Lisa was freaking out that night.
Yeah,
Actually.
but I was in control. I didn't have that sense of fear that I usually get when things are at play. I went with it. I was in the experience. It was all, oh, that's weird. Yeah, all weird and stuff. But I did feel that people were probably, they drank, hungover, on drugs perhaps. I thought, you know what it's like when you get into that certain frame of mind where your psyche becomes a bit weak, and I'm thinking we've all tuned into a weakness here, which was that it probably didn't happen.
Right, okay. Well, I certainly think there was a lot that people were sort of picking
I experienced it with you, yeah, but I'm in denial of it.
Right, okay. Let's see if we've got Starthy online. I think we might have somebody. Let's fade him up. Can you hear us?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, let me just put the amp on so that Shelley can hear as well. Okay. What's your question, Dorothy?
I was just wondering about how you actually do work at night. It's something
How
that
what?
seems to me...
how you work at night?
If you're out in a field at night, how do you actually manage to read tape measures and plans and things?
Yep, go ahead, Shell. Agent S.
Well, I feel a bit like I'm jumping in really, because I'm not a circle maker. I'm just a.
Oh, okay.
I'm someone that tags along and does a bit of hard work.
How did you manage to read? Could you do it? Could you read the tape measure
easily,
at night?
Yeah. Well, you're not measuring, are you? You've got one. You have some people have flashlights in their light.
Yeah.
And if you need to see your design on the paper, you'll put it down in the tram line to the floor and have a little light shining it for a few seconds or whatever.
Shine it through your fingers, so that you could basically restrict the light like that,
Everyone wears black. Everything's black.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
That's kind of, I would have thought that sort of lights would have been visible from a long way away. I thought maybe that you worked in total darkness. I don't know.
Sometimes you were, weren't you?
Yeah.
In total darkness.
The thing about total darkness is that we will still every once in a while use a torch through our fingers just to look at the design on paper, and we'll kneel down. Sometimes we'll pull our coat around us to make sure that the light doesn't shine out. We'll go below the level of the crop, and that way we can ensure that people aren't going to see from a distance, because a light is a big giveaway. It's an instantaneous thing of, there they are in that location, bang. If you hear a sound of somebody speaking, you think, maybe somebody walking with their dog or something like that.
Yeah.
But if you see a light on in a field, it's very much bang, there's somebody in that field now, and it
But
locates
to be honest, even if there were things that were visible, I don't think it'd get seen anyway, because people are so open-minded, they would read into it, and if they saw a light, they would see it as a ball of light.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So you do it very fleetingly, just when you need to, and try and hide it. So it's minimised, I guess, is what you're saying.
There was an incident, me and Paul Damon were up on the hill one day, and I just brought back from America these LED lights, these torches, and we thought we'd challenge this, what people can see. We stood up on the hill. I was flashing his light in one way. He stood behind me with his big torch and was going over like this. And this car came down the hill, and sure enough, the car stopped, and the wind was carrying the sounds. We heard everything they said. They stopped on the hill and watched us throwing these torches around, and they got so excited. Oh my God, look, what is it? It's a UFO. And we were just pissing ourselves. Because it's like, this is the power that people have.
Yeah, this is the type of light that you actually got. It's a thing called a raven.
Yeah.
And because you take it to raves with you. So
did I get you that one?
Raven. I think you got me this one, yeah. Oh. And yeah, basically it's got different colours in it, and you can sort of do strange things. And at night it looks very bizarre, when you sort of change the colours. And when you're swinging it around, you're getting in arcs and things like that. It certainly...
See, I sense mischief in your voice there.
Yeah.
I've got a set of these things, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like a yo-yo with 3 balls on, and they've got lights, and you can make amazing patterns with them.
Yeah. Somebody said, somebody said, where is Jesus? If you move slightly to one side, you will see where Jesus is. Jesus is hiding.
He's not on tonight.
There we are. And Jesus has a secret as well, doesn't he? If you do shake, if you shake Jesus really hard, then
Can you see that?
actually, if we go across to you, we might do. Try again.
He turns into the light being.
Yeah. Can we see that? Yeah, he's doing it. Jesus actually gives off light.
Yeah.
So he's a light-emitting being, a leb, not a LED, light-emitting dickhead. He's a light-emitting being. So
Me and Jesus don't get on very well.
That's fair enough.
yeah, you gave Jesus to me, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was a present from Agent S. Was Jesus? I had the distinct pleasure of being converted
I always
by.
seem to give you funny lights, don't I?
Yeah, you're into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anything else you wanted to ask, Dorothy?
No, thank you. Thank you very much for answering my question.
Thank you very much. So we
Bye-bye.
shall. Yes, see you soon. And I think we had somebody called James who, if you want to call us, if we see you ringing, I shall answer for you. And somebody is saying in channel MBF Services, copyright MBF Services. That's the old Doug and Dave thing, that is, isn't it? Yeah, we've got James is coming in now. So let's see if we can call him in. Are you hearing us, James? You'll have to turn your live stream audio down.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. You have to turn your live stream audio completely off, mute it. Yeah. Okay.
Muted. Yeah. Hi, Shelley.
Hello.
I was thinking you worked on a farm. You were kind of working on the land and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know me?
No, I don't know you. No,
Oh, okay.
No, he's just been listening to you.
Oh, yeah,
This
yeah.
is how he knows about you, see, because you did say you were.
Yeah.
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 Freak her out. Tell her you know her. Say
Well, it's possible, you see.
Did you feel?
Tell her you owe some money. She owes you some money.
Circle making.
So what was the question?
Sorry, I was interrupting then, James. Can you say that again? Very sorry.
Do you feel kind of guilty about being involved in circle making? Have you ever felt kind of guilty for?
Yeah, but I know why I feel guilty. It's because of the respect I had for the farmers. Because a belief system is a belief system, and if somebody feels it's genuine and they don't want to believe otherwise, when you're the bearer of bad news, which is I'm here to burst your bubble, it's a negative behaviour. So I feel guilty because I put myself in a position where I wanted to prove this person wrong. So yes, I feel guilty for that, but but only to these people, not in my body. I don't feel guilty in life in general, just towards these particular people who believed otherwise.
So the farmers you were living with were believers then in kind of an alien origin?
Yeah,
Circles?
but the thing is that I lost, because I lived there, you see, and I no longer lived there when I was seen to be making circles. Because there was this negative energy coming from me because I was involved with what were the Satanists. So I have, guilt and regrets. Well, I guess I feel I should have. Maybe that's more honest. I don't know.
Right.
Just purely because of the respect I had for the people. They took me in at the end of the day. So
it sounds like it kind of affected your relationship with them.
it did. That's why I left Wiltshire for 10 years. I've just come back.
Right.
Well, actually, you make a good point there. We haven't gone into this, but the sad part about it was that after making crop circles with us, and we've only mentioned a couple here, like the HTV one, which is a demo in Yatesbury, it was paid for, Chair Hill formation, our logo, our radio logo.
Yeah, so these were commissions. They weren't like vandalism.
Yeah, and also you did a couple with Paul Damon, didn't you?
Yeah.
I've got some of them. We can show them on screen. But what actually happened to you when you admitted to the farmer, the farmer's wife?
Well, I was recently put right on this, and
Well,
I don't know
tell how it was initially, how you know it to be, and then
how I know it to be is
Yeah.
that I was kicked out of the house for mixing with the circle makers. Because how it transpired originally is I used to etch mirrors. That was my little thing I used to do. And I asked this farmer if they thought it would be a good peace if I did this particular circle on a mirror. And the feedback that I got was very negative. It was, well, you couldn't possibly do that. And my reaction was, why? And she said that because because the circle was a genuine circle and it wasn't man-made, it was made by something extraterrestrial, then I couldn't possibly know the mathematics. So in order for it to be a good piece, I would have to know the exact dimensions, which I couldn't possibly get because it wasn't a man-made piece. But sadly, I knew who did the circle, and I was present at the circle, and this caused some real bad feeling, and I was asked to leave. But like I say, I've recently been put right. Apparently, it was said to me that if I like the circle makers so much, maybe I should go and live with them. Now, I was a pretty angry person when I was younger. I don't know how true that is because I've completely disassociated all of it.
Well, I seem to remember at the time, thinking back, I mean, I've got a bad memory and I paint things the way I seem to remember
I'm sure
them.
it wasn't as simple as...
No, I think you were basically kicked out.
Yeah, that's
straight,
how I feel
leave,
about it. Yeah.
Just leave, you know, and you did, and you did come to actually live with us. It was actually, you know, because we were friendly and, you know, we were good friends. We said, well, you know, you can come and stay here if you want, and you moved around from there to a few places, didn't you? You had a...
Well, actually, first off, I was put in a bed sit in Pusey on my own.
That was arranged by the social, you know, housing people, yeah. And you sort of travelled around a bit, but you know, we saw bits of you then, but felt a little bit guilty because, you know, that had all happened. But basically, from telling the truth, from telling it from experience, not from belief system, from telling the truth as you saw it, because you'd actually seen it with your own eyes, you got told to leave. That's the power of some people's belief systems. And
I don't think, if I'm being really truthful about it, I don't think it's as clear cut as that's what you get for being honest. I think honesty has to be, for somebody to receive a message of honesty, they have to respect the person it's coming from. And I think perhaps I wasn't respected enough for that person to acknowledge what I was saying was true. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But regardless of how I've delivered this message, it certainly wasn't a good choice for me to do.
Yeah. Are we going down the line, you know, with you, James? Do you want to ask any different questions?
Yeah, no, I think it's almost really quite sad what you're talking about there, that being involved in this has kind of affected that relationship. And I don't know, I think all the programmes so far, and tonight particularly, it's, you know, it's showing the real human story to this, which is really powerful.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
it's a very different kind of side to the circle thing than would usually be known, and it's really interesting.
It's the truthful side.
It's the untold story, isn't it? You know, it's,
yeah, and it's you know,
it's not all about circle making. I mean,
No.
Some people are experiencers in this, and they're just as much a part of the subject of circle making as human circle makers, as our researchers. And I don't want to cut this show off from anybody that wants to come in and put their side forward. If there are any researchers who think they can put a good case forward as to why we're not able to do this stuff, I'm more than happy to have them in on the show. But
that's the commercial side of it, isn't it? The commercial side of circle making is that occasionally you'll get vandals that come and try and claim the artwork from the believers, and that they are very bad people. But that's all you hear about, isn't it? Because that's all you read about. Because the circle makers don't write literature and don't tell everybody about their experiences.
Yeah.
And to be honest, some of the stuff I've heard commercially has been kind of made up anyway. You know.
Or
some
at least not going...
I can't speak for everybody, but just my experiences.
I think that, like we were talking a little bit about Round in Circles last week, a Jim Schnabel book, which certainly talks about a lot of the, you know, the intrigue going on between the researchers and the circle makers, and how each one ducks and dives around each other, and you know, but it doesn't really go into the paranormal side of things, I don't think. And the Field Maker's Guide, which was Pilkington and Rob Irving, I think, How to Make Crop Circles. But I mean, it doesn't really talk about this, connection with the spirit or feeling that there's a paranormal element going on. It's literally just that, this is crop circles, this is how you make them, good night. And it's like, that's fine, but it's very, it's just a very artistic, like a painting by numbers, this is how you do it, and then that's it. And I like things that go into the weirder side of stuff. I mean, what do you think, James? Are the researchers telling it exactly how it is? What's your feelings on that?
I think you're right. I think the field guide is almost quite sterile. It is very much, a manual. Do this, do this, do this, and that. It does lack something. It feels like it lacks.
It lacks the stories. It lacks
soul.
Well, yeah. It lacks all the little weird stories. That I know that the Circle Makers who wrote that book have got some great stories, which is why I'd like to get some of them on the show. And I mean, I'm not getting some reaction from some Circle Makers I've asked, but I know they've got great stories. Maybe they're just saving them for a book, a biography, or something like that.
But this is still pretty much taboo, isn't it? This is the Circle Makers coming out effectively.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be some negative energy out there. So everybody will be treading water initially until they realise, actually, like certainly from feedback from yourself, James, that's good feedback that there is another side to it. And I'm sat here thinking, if I was watching a TV show and listening to the researchers speak, and then I was watching this show, I know which one I would be warm to. It's because I would feel I was getting truth from this side, no matter how crazy some of it sounded. There's truth here, there's interest and intrigue here, whereas researchers will be scientific facts. Let's draw in a magical nodes. It's plucked information, isn't it? It's not convincing. And the only way that you can be convinced scientifically is through language that you don't understand, which is actually quite insulting, isn't it?
I'd agree there. Yeah, you hit on a very good point, because I mean, like Michael Glickman, sort of tries to go whoosh straight over your head.
I was thinking
with
of him
mathematics.
when I was speaking.
Oh, right, yeah, with mathematics, so that a lot of people aren't going to be able to understand what he's on about, and it sounds all wonderful and wow, and
it's
this
a sales pitch.
But it really, what it's trying to do is just go, you don't know what I'm talking about. You couldn't possibly know what I'm talking about, so you tend to just accept. But I mean, I've looked into one or two things, and I could tell that some of the stuff that Michael Glickman was giving at a lecture was wrong. I just knew it straight away. I could see that the designs he had weren't exactly right. And I think that sometimes these things are altered slightly so that they fit what people are expecting to.
I just don't like
to see
the energy that comes from them when extraditing simpletons like me. It's like, I'm not a Satan, and I shouldn't lose my home and my security just because I've crossed the fence to believe in something else. And it's
not belief with you, is it? You're not crossing the fence
to
believe in something else.
Definitely, yeah.
You actually know that people are making circles because you've seen it.
Yeah.
You've actually seen it. Beliefs are different. I mean, you can change your beliefs like you change your underwear.
But
hard to change fact.
It's difficult to support anyone that doesn't evaluate both sides of things. When people argue one-sided on one thing. What was that?
I don't know. That's a little squeaky coming from James there.
So,
did you want
what about?
Yes, go ahead.
I think because circle makers, do they need researchers? Do circle makers need the researchers to be there?
No. Because
the researchers kind of draw people in to being interested in the circles. Would you agree with that, or?
I wouldn't. So you're saying that the circle makers utilise the researchers to get their artwork seen or whatever?
I suppose I'm saying that it's all part of the same continuum, I guess. Circle makers, people who are interested in it, the researchers all need each other, really.
Well,
do you get what I mean?
I do think of tourism. Like when I've been in circles, I do think of the tourism aspect. So I guess there is a bit of selfishness there on my part, but tourism's good for a community, but I certainly don't think of researchers when I think of tourism. I think of I just think that the aerial shots that are taken by researchers are only taken by them because we are short of individuals. I mean, I've only just found out that you fly a plane, Matt.
Yeah, because you've been away for a while, and just found out that
But in the day, the concept of someone flying a plane and taking an aerial shot was like, oh, you'd have to be super rich to do that. You know, I was quite...
I thought you'd have to be super rich as well. I was quite surprised that I could get to do it, because I used to fly years ago, and when I had a sort of civil service job, and I thought, God, I'm never going to be able to afford to actually do it. I could pass my license, but this is so bloody expensive. And then microlighting, that, you know, enabled me to sort of get into it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're actually going over the 11 o'clock mark here, but I'm into this. Are you still up for a bit more?
Yeah, I've got more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could still cover some areas here. I'm going to keep this running on. If anybody has to leave, I'm very, very sorry, but we you know, I think this show is a hardcore motherfucker place to be. So let's keep it going. James, get some questions in there. Go for it.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, what you're talking about there, I mean, if you make a circle without a researcher to fly it, you're never going to see that circle.
Yeah, you know,
I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's true.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, certainly, you know, the circles that I've been involved in, many of them, there's not been aerial shots of. You kind of lose that, and it's quite sad. And
Like
there's been
that
times
one.
where we've hired a plane and we've done that kind of thing, and that's cost a lot of money. And we did it because we really wanted photos of what we've made.
Yes, absolutely.
But I guess, you know, so I guess researchers and circle makers coexist and both give each other something. I mean, I don't read any crop circle research. I don't really read about crop circles at all anymore. So it's not something that in that aspect kind of interests me, but I'm still interested in this human side of it. I'm still interested in making them. And when I do read stuff that's written about crop circles that I've been involved in, and I think, wow, that's amazing. But maybe all that stuff you're talking about, Glickman, the maths, drawing, all that kind of confusion is there to kind of to make people think it's more than it is. I mean, the people who I worked with when we made them, I was a bingo caller, the other guy was a market trader, the other guy was a butcher, you know. And we've made these things that make people invent these whole kind of theories about it all. It's bizarre.
Yes, I tell you what, I'll bring up on screen just for a second. This is the formation we did for HTV. I'm just going to skip through some of these pretty quickly so we can see what we got. You were present when we did this one, which was something done for digital radio. It's the R logo. Hang on, let's just zoom it in a bit so you can see what's going on. This was an oval. This was interesting because there's the R logo the right way up. That's what we had to try and create. And strangely enough, there's Agent S out in the fields, and she was wearing the mask back then as well. So that's why I thought it'd be interesting to bring that in a little bit. Now, the person you can see on the left, see the back of their head there, that's actually Linda Moulton Howe. Now, you can see behind Shelley, you can see Peter Sorensen and Paul Damon. Just up there on the screen, that's Peter Sorensen on the right talking to Paul Damon on the left, who's holding a tape. And there's a back shot of myself on the left, Paul Damon in the middle, and Andy on the right. Yeah. And basically, the researchers who were there in this formation had electrical magnetic sort of equipment with them. They were sort of testing Ron Russell, Dr. Simeon Hine, and they were testing RF and electromagnetic fields and electrostatics. And I can't quite remember which equipment registered the most, but they said, we've got the most registration on this equipment that we've ever had. And they watched us make the formation. Yep. And they actually they were going, wow, this is amazing. We're getting more than we've ever had in any other formation. And we were making this thing in front of them. So they went into the field beforehand. There was nothing there registering on the equipment. After we made the formation, went off the end of the scale. Now, Linda Moulton Howe was actually there whilst we were doing this. So let me just see if I can find... Where is she? She's in here somewhere. Hang on. I seem to have lost the picture of her, but I have got a picture of Linda Moulton Howe. She didn't tell anybody that she'd seen the electromagnetic effects with the equipment. She decided to edit that out, of what she was telling people. She said, I think these guys work for the CIA. That's what she said. She went on a radio show. She said, I think these guys work for the CIA. She didn't mention anything about the electromagnetics. So, but she'd seen it with her own eyes. she'd seen us making the formation, and why couldn't she tell people that that was something that she experienced? I was quite saddened that she would do that, and just omit it from the story. What do you think?
Well, it's stories like that make me have the opinion of researchers in the way that I do. That's a prime example of dishonesty.
What do you think, James, having made circles? Have you ever had anybody claim things about the formations you've done that, and you think, well, you're omitting things? Have you had people omit things from stuff you've done?
There's certainly been things written that I've thought, well, I don't know where you've got that from. But then you do circles, and sometimes people pick up on meanings in them that maybe you're not even aware of when you do it, and you think, well, I didn't know that. Maybe it's right, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But I think, in terms of people being dishonest, and I think that's kind of par for the course in the whole paranormal field anyway. It's full of kind of charlatans and people who omit things and people who make things up, and it's the trickster thing, isn't it? That's what happens, It's you look at the whole UFO folklore, how things are rehashed, how things are kind of repeated. That's what happens, isn't it? That's how it works, I think.
Yeah, there's Raytheon in channel is saying. He says, it appears to me that crop circle artists are driven by a force. He then says muse force, being Greek, and that they don't quite understand why. He says they feel mischievous, they act mischievous. This is Pan. That's a Greek thing also, Greek sort of god. Artist and admirer are the point of duality, which is Janus, and he says, come on, work it out. Esoteric symbolism is being played out as terror symbols. Only a few know why. What do you think of that, James?
I think something gets people out there doing it. Everyone's got their own motivations they can talk about on one level, but perhaps there is another kind of motivation, something that is less of an awareness, People put a lot of time and energy into going out and making circles. Sometimes, with very little reward. Something drives us all to kind of keep going and doing it.
Yes.
I don't know what that is,
well,
but yeah.
I would say on that comment there that person is exercising a belief system of his own, and he's drawing in. He's obviously done. He sat there and he's worked that out because his head is full of whatever this Greek thing he's talking about. So I would say that this person is exercising a all eggs in one basket belief system, because he seems so sure.
And Dion is going to say some feel creative, and Wraithy says, Dion, not all Wraithy agree. Okay, so there's a lot of conversation going on in the channel, and we're welcoming anyone who wants to Skype in, and we're keeping the show going for a bit. I think we're sort of enjoying ourselves, so why not? But I think what we've worked out tonight is, like you were saying, is that people are different, and that there are very different people involved in making crop circles, and the only way that we can really represent this without writing a book, or which involves getting it published, and who's got the time and energy to do that, and the motivation to do it, and of course the one-dimensionality of a book is that one person researching a book like myself would then say, well, this is the final conclusion, and then it's me editing the book. And I think with a TV channel, I mean, some people have been saying in here tonight, what's the point of this TV channel? I saw somebody make a point. They said, what's the point of this TV channel? And I thought, well, this is the point of the TV channel, is that you can't, it's not edited. You're getting to see the real people. They're actually, if they can convince you of their humanity and that they're really telling the truth, this is the best format to do it in. People can come on and Skype. They can ask the real questions. Yes, okay, we've had a few circle makers so far actually calling in, but there's nothing to stop anyone else actually Skyping in. We're more than happy for anyone to Skype in. Researchers, disbelievers,
but this
believers.
is where I say human beings are unintelligent and not tip of the iceberg with what we're capable of. With a comment like that, like, what is the point in this TV channel? It's like, more to the point, what is the point in...
They might have been asking a question as opposed to making a statement, but yeah.
the point in tuning into a TV channel that you're not interested and then going out of your way to comment on the fact that what's the point in all this? That takes more effort than what we're doing.
Yes,
So
yeah.
this is what I mean. I don't just say one person is unintelligent. I say we are all unintelligent because we half think things through. We don't think things through properly before we, and we don't give other people a chance to, to interact with us and share ideas. And I like this channel because people are sharing their ideas and they are open. And one thing I say about myself is I might make claims about my beliefs, but I can change them like that. I can change purely by listening to what other people has to say. The people that you've had here, Bob and Fanny,
You heard them say things that have changed your opinion.
Yep, and same with Dave also. I'm very open to listening to people's opinions and changing my own beliefs. And I wish a lot more people were like that because they're not in my experience.
What do you think, James? Are you happy with the show in its current format? And what would you change about the show, or is it meeting your needs? And do you think it meets the needs of researchers, or what would you like to see happen?
I think it's working. I think whatever happens, these shows, I guess, are going to stay here online. They're going to be archived, and people can draw off them and take what they want from them, can't they?
Yeah.
I guess. I suppose I hope that the circle phenomena continues long into the future, and new people get drawn into it, new people start making circles, and hopefully new people will start believing in the non-human origin of circles, because I think that's a great thing for people to believe into if they want. I certainly was a full-on believer in the whole alien UFO thing in the 90s, drawn totally into it all, and that's what got me out making circles, because I suppose I wanted to see if it was possible to make them. And then we went and did one and thought, actually, yeah, they probably are made by people. And then, that started making me very skeptical about all manner of paranormal claims and stuff, and I don't know, but I don't want that. I wouldn't like this show to be seen as something that debunks the whole mystery of the phenomenon, because I think if it did, that would be a shame, perhaps. I don't know.
But from the commercial side or the researcher's side, how often do you find yourself relating to what they say in terms of personal experiences?
Like I say, I don't read any crop circle work, really.
Yeah, well...
Not anymore, no.
But I'm saying I can't see how there cannot be a transition in this to, on a positive side, because what you're finding is that anyone that's speaking about their involvement in crop circles all have a story of supernatural, unexplained, weird, strange, and no matter how sceptical the person, the people are honest enough to talk about them. And I don't think you're getting that from commercialism.
Well, you certainly do get the weird stories, but I mean, I think sometimes some of them are made up, because I know that we made a particular formation, so that didn't come down in 2 minutes. And if somebody says they saw it come down in 2 minutes, then they're either lying, or there's something really weird going on whereby something else is obscuring that from these people so that they see it appear in 2 minutes, but it didn't appear in 2 minutes. So what the hell's going on there? Yeah, but that's a weird one for me, is how does that work?
No, but what my point is that it's this all eggs in one basket. When somebody's selling you a story, no matter how grand and wonderful, if they're shouting too much about one thing and one thing only without listening to or weighing things up. Do you know what I mean? Like, my point is that when people who are eccentric and they only go down one trail of thought, you can learn nothing from those people other than to avoid them. Because you can't grow or learn anything from them because they're one-track minded.
Okay.
Like the researchers.
Belief systems are very rigid. Some people's belief systems are so rigid that anything that challenges them, people attack those people.
Yeah, they get really aggressive, don't they?
It does. It's a strange one, because that's why I'd like to get people on this show, because what I've tried to do over the years, I know I can be a bit bombastic in my YouTube stuff, and people say, like, and an arrogant piece of shit. And it's like, yeah, I am an arrogant piece of shit. And the reason is because I've been dealing with this stuff for such a long time that I've kind of, you get a bit hard-skinned and you just say, well, look, I'm just going to tell it the way it is. If you don't like it, that's not my problem. I'll try and tell it, with honesty. I think my honesty is, well, this is me, and if you don't like it, that's me, warts and all. It's nice with this channel to kind of show, well, there's a lot of different people out there with very different attitudes and different opinions. So that's what I think this channel is good for. But D on here makes a point. He says, you're selling a story too, Agent S. You're selling a story. So,
No,
should people believe you?
I'm expressing my experience. I'm not selling a story.
Yeah,
because
actually, you're not selling it.
I don't expect people to believe what I'm saying.
You're not getting paid for it.
No.
In fact, if anything, I think you've probably lost out in some ways. I mean, who knows which way your life would have gone if you hadn't have got kicked out because you started making circles and were friendly with us. How your life might have gone down a completely different line. You might have been, but would you say you've gained or lost from this subject through?
I'd say lost. I've lost dearly.
You've lost because you become associated with circle makers, or you've lost because you've met people and things that have happened that weren't quite what you thought they were going to be.
When you've been called a liar by, someone who's meant to be your friend, someone you care about, someone you're close to, when they feel so strongly that you're lying, and when you give them evidence that you're not lying, and they still won't listen to you, so you go and do your own thing and you end up successful, but then you lose everything anyway because you've been tormented by those things. What I mean is, like, I might have been successful, I had a house and everything, but I ended up giving it all away because my insecurities that have grown from those experiences, like I hate people calling me a liar. I've got I don't associate with anyone that thinks I lie. If if they want to sit down and chat to me and debate with me, then of course I've got no problem with that. But when people give me this one road of, no, you're lying, and they don't give you a chance to defend yourself, to express yourself, when people don't give you a chance because they're so caught up in their own selfish beliefs, that's
not a good one. Yeah.
No, and I don't work very well on things like that, and they cause me problems.
Yeah, I mean, Dorothy. Sorry, not Dorothy. God, James. Have you had anybody that you've told you've made circles and they've then taken a negative reaction to you? They've gone, maybe even disowned you, not wanted to know you. Has that happened? Have you told anybody?
There's a handful of people who know I make circles. I could probably count them on two hands.
Right.
It's something that everyone who I know who's involved in making circles, we all keep it really, really quiet. I think it's kind of important for us to do that. I think there are a couple of people who I've told who haven't believed me when I said,
too far-fetched.
That was us. We did that.
When you told them, did they kind of dismiss you and then dislike you?
I don't think so. Like I say, I think for me it's something quite personal and quite private, my involvement in making circles, and it's something that is known to me and a handful of other people. And
but it's not anymore, is it?
Well, not everybody knows who James is. He's fairly anonymous in the fact that, he's a voice, but nobody really knows. I think we can guess you come from up north. I think we might have even discussed this a little bit before. My memory is bad, but
that's about it. Yeah. I mean, for me, being involved in circles, I guess I've been to Wiltshire once in my life. So watching this, seeing how you all know each other, all the circle makers, it's very much like a closed kind of group of people. It's almost like a subculture that kind of evolved in Wiltshire, essentially, isn't it? Which evolved around a certain pub and a few places and all that kind of thing.
And knowing who you can trust. Yeah, knowing who you can trust. And
well, I said that too, didn't I? Even as a guest helping you, coming into your world of circle making, I felt there was a test of honesty going on, or trust rather.
Yeah, sure.
I felt that as an atmosphere. So yeah, I agree with James.
I mean, I visited the barging once, and it was a really odd experience. I found it a very strange place to go. It seemed very, very people very suspicious. you could almost see the intrigue and the kind of the I don't know. It was a very, very strange place to visit. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I evolved separately from that.
What about your connection with the strange side of circle making? Did we discuss this? I am a bad memory person.
I sensed
I'm probably
a in his voice earlier when he said they used to believe in aliens, but I sensed he perhaps has had some kind of experience since.
Yeah, have you had experiences whilst making circles? Sorry, Jay. I am I'm the wrong person to be actually hosting this show because my memory is so bad. You can be my friend every week, and I could be like, I just don't know. I'd have to write it down. I need Agent R. Agent R remembers everything, and he says like, no, don't stop, no. He did say he did, yeah. And I'm like, oh yes, you did tell us that you had some strange experiences, didn't you? And then I can act like as if I remember these things. I remember these things as well as I remember people's names, which is not very well at all. And in fact, like today's date of the show, I mess up all the time in getting dates and times wrong. I'm useless, but I'm not a bad circle maker.
Can you remember what your question was?
Too many drugs.
Yeah, too many drugs. It is. Yeah, probably. I've always been like this. I haven't got great recall capabilities when I'm under pressure. When I don't want to remember things, they just come into my head. But when I actually go, I want to remember something, it goes, no, you're not going to remember it. And I have to play these little mental games with myself to sort of ease out the answer. But no, in this case, I think I was asking you whether you had any strange experiences. In making circles. Do you kind of believe a little bit in that side of things? There's a magic to making circles, a real magic, not a sleight of hand magic.
I think everyone who I've made circles with, we had a UFO sighting together before we made circles. I think before, yeah. So we all were involved, and we were all really drawn into the whole UFO phenomenon together, and we all had a sighting. Which may have been about the year before we started making circles, something like that. I've seen kind of orange balls of light, all that kind of thing. Shadows in the fields.
There's a pattern here, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, we're all on that train. Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be a kind of popular kind of thing that people see. I don't know.
Do you think that those things keep you carrying on? They sort of drive you to make more circles because you want to see more, or you want to connect more? Yeah,
I think there's definitely that compulsion, isn't there? Because it does feel like you're opening something. It feels like something you can draw. It's that strange attractive thing, isn't
Pandora's
it? You can draw
box.
things in. That's certainly a big motivation for me, yeah. I know one of our team saw a black dog when we were making a circle, in the circle. Whether it was a real black dog or a spectral black dog, I don't know, but obviously black dogs are well known in folklore and are seen and harbingers of doom and all that kind of thing. So I don't know about that. And then strange kind of connections that come from circles. So I've got a really close friend now who, when he was a lot younger, used to go and sit in the circles we made. I didn't know him. And he used to sit in those circles. Now he believes he's been abducted. He's had all kinds of paranormal experiences in his life. I met him completely by chance. He didn't know I made those circles. Now he comes out and makes circles with us. So it's like the Matrix, those universal kind of connections. I don't know. Who knows?
But that's what I mean. You should be able to have those relationships with any person. We should be able to go out with researchers and make circles. So researchers should be able to come on this show and speak about their experiences. So that's how it should be in my mind. Do you not think?
Yeah.
It's a shame that there is this animosity between the two, because if everybody put their stories together, who knows what could be realised at the end of it.
Well, Dorothy says that he was thinking of Pandora's box, and then Agent S said Pandora's box. So there you go.
I have been told I'm psychic.
You're a psychic sidekick.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I'm psychic. You're the sidekick.
Yeah.
Sorry. But it is kind of interesting that we've had this friendship going on for quite some time. Even though distance has gone between us for quite a few years, and you went off and did some things. Now we're sharing a house together, and You know, there's nothing going on, just good, very good friends, and that's probably why we'll remain getting on for quite some time because
I do all the cleaning.
Yeah, that's right. She's keeping me in check, you see.
Yeah.
So we weren't too sure at first about whether or not you would be prepared to come on the show or whether it was a good idea or not. But as things have kind of developed on, I've kind of said, well, you know, it would be good to get you on, but maybe further down the line, you know, maybe a bit further down the line.
It's kind of a demonstration as well that there are people that I would like to see on the show. There are people that I haven't heard from who I would like to hear from. And the researchers being some of them, because I've said that I can change my mind like that when it comes to adopting other people's opinions and ideas. And I think it's a terrible shame that those people aren't freely available. So my reservations of coming on here, I thought, well, if I can't come on here, how can I expect anyone else to come on here? So it's really, I'm just biting the bullet and demonstrating that everybody has an opinion, really, that's worth something.
Yeah.
Well, James, have you got any final points or questions so we can put to Agent S?
No, I think going all night, but I'm kind of I don't know where to take it next. So, who did this artwork on the backdrop of this painting with the guy laid down in the field? Who's that painting by, Matt?
That's a good point. And actually, seeing as we seem to have Rob Irving, or somebody who's called themselves Rob Irving, I wonder if it is the real Rob Irving, has actually come into channel. If it is Rob Irving, hello, sir. We're very much glad to have you here. And Rob Irving may have the answer to that question because I believe there's been some question about the fact that I didn't have permission to use this on the backdrop of the website, and that's absolutely true. So on the Crop Circle Connector forum, it was mentioned that, you know, why didn't I get permission? Well, the point was that I went looking for crop circle images, and I found that graphic on somebody else's website, and I thought that's good, but they hadn't credited it, and I knew I'd seen it somewhere, but I couldn't remember where I'd seen it, the original artwork, and I got a feeling. There's only a feeling that it might have been something to do with the Fortean Times magazine, and I could be wrong on that one.
In future, follow the Tin Eye site.
Tin Eye, what's that?
Tin Eye is it's a reverse image finder.
Tells you where things came from.
It follows the pixels, all the pixels and different colours in the picture, and it'll
work it back to its original location.
It'll spider through the web and find every site that picture exists on.
Right, okay. Well, if Rob is able to answer that one, the picture that's in the background of the sleeping circle maker and then the angels above looking down, yeah, I mean, I'd like to have permission to use it properly, and I would try and gain permission to use it properly, and if I'm told no, I'll stop using it, but didn't know where it came from. But
I mean, usually people ask you to take it down if
they got a problem with it, it might even... Sorry, say that again. Then we faded you out a little bit there because of the.
So I think it was in 14 times. Yeah, I recognise it 14 times.
Ah, there we are. Yeah, I don't subscribe to 14 times. I've been thinking about doing it, but somebody given me a copy in the past when I've been discussed in there under this Hierophant thingy, and other people have been writing articles about crop circles, and I've seen it in there. Yeah.
Can always change it, can't you? If people are unhappy.
People need to, yeah. I quite like it. I do. I think it's quite good.
I do too.
So, the artist's name is Jim Kay, Rob Irving has just said. There we are. It's got to be Rob Irving because he knows, you see, he knows that. And, yes. I think that people... I don't know if Rob's been tuning in during the whole of the show, but, I mean, the stories that people have got to tell is really what Circle Making TV is about. It's not about Matt Williams, even though his ego does extend to the fact that... Yeah,
we all know you've got an ego, but, you know...
Yeah, his ego does extend to the fact that he doesn't mind doing a little TV show because it's kind of fun. But the thing is, I have been trying to kind of facilitate these sorts of things over the years with getting people to talk, researchers to talk to circle makers, and it doesn't always work. You know, you can't get some researchers to do it. And I'm thinking, well, you know, will they pick up a book? Maybe not, because they don't want to spend any money on it. So Circle Makers TV is a free way of getting the idea
additional information.
Yeah, it's raw research. It's the real. These are Circle Makers. These are Circle Makers' friends. These are researchers. Let's all have a chat. You know, it's free, and you can gain an idea of what's going on from this.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see Rob on here. I really would. I've been trying to contact him, and I wonder whether he would be interested in coming on. You don't have to give me an answer tonight, but I'm sure he's got some great stories about circle making.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, definitely.
I mean, you know, some of the things he did in the Circle Makers video, it was, and that's on YouTube if you want to watch it. It's a 3-hour long interview thing. I mean, his interview was really good in the middle of it all, but there's some stories I've heard about things that have happened in some crop circles that would be brilliant if they could be talked about.
Everyone should hear about them, yeah.
Yeah, you know, some little things that have gone on that I shouldn't really mention. They're private information, but if they want to bring them on, bring it on. And maybe he's keeping it all for his memoirs, you see, his biography. He's like, I'm not giving you those stories. Those stories are worth money. I don't know, but yes.
It'd be nice to see any of them talking about their experiences, because people have only had snippets of information from various researchers, and unless they've had personal experience with circle makers in the pub or whatever, I mean, there is a big following in circles, and on both sides of the fence, I think. Like every circle maker that we've spoken to has had a weird experience worth listening to, worth talking about.
And with somebody like Rob as well, Rob has, you know, amongst people that I know in the research community, I know some people have said to me like, Rob, everything, no.
I've heard that too, yeah.
Oh, you don't want to hang around Rob Irving, he's a terrible person, terrible man, terrible
But you were as well,
man.
you're Satan, I've been told.
Yeah, I was told that, and I mean, I've been accused of all sorts of things that I haven't actually done and things, and I would say that when I first met Rob, he was very cagey with me, but I think because of, you know, the years of bad experiences he's had with researchers, he's kind of like, you know, who are you, you know, you say you make circles, prove it, you know, and he's kind of a little bit wary. But once we got, you know, we got an established idea that we were really both circle makers, and we had a chat, I found out that the Rob Irving that people were telling me was a nasty guy and you wouldn't want to speak
and in
to
fact,
was actually a really interesting guy.
That'll be a common thing you hear if these kind of people come on here and chat about their experiences. I've no doubts that the people that in my mind I might have a problem with will change when I listen to them, because it's all word of mouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you have your own personal experience with an individual person. It's like when, you know, when you have a friend, when you like somebody, you're very forgiving of their negative behaviours. Like you said, you've got a very big ego, you're very arrogant, whichever, but that's forgivable when you're friends with somebody. Like everybody's got a friend who's a bit arrogant, a bit up himself, a bit selfish or whatever. So really, all the things, negative things that we describe about researchers, they're only negative because we can't back it up with anything positive, because we haven't had a personal experience in order to share. And I haven't had the opportunity to have a positive thought about a researcher. So I would love that opportunity.
Yeah, some of my experiences with researchers have been quite negative, actually trying to say to them, you know, let's have a chat, and they've been a bit negative. But I think to be perfectly honest, I think the best experiences and the best explanations and the best stories I've had have been through circle makers. I mean, you know, you're always on a little bit of tender hooks, really, with the researchers, because they're sort of like, you know...
Yeah, because you're competitive. At the end of the day, you're both selling a different story. You both...
well, I'm not selling...
No, but you've both got preconceived ideas about each other. You've already said, by your own admission, that you haven't had, you know...
Not all researchers I've had problems with, but some. And I'd really like to get them on the show too, you know. I'm not... although I've got an ego, you know, I would say... I'm more interested in getting the stories, you know. So if somebody wants to come on the show and tell me why I'm wrong, that would be fine. But
I've got a very fair mind, and if I see someone bullying or being selfish with their wording, I can cut in, and vice versa. If somebody's being too aggressive about their belief systems, I can usually pinpoint reasons that will, or things that will floor their ideas. So to me, it's not about belittling anybody or extradizing anybody. It's about getting to the root of the problem or the cause, or whatever, getting to the truth of the matter. And I think the truth hasn't really been found, because, you know, not all researchers have had an opportunity to speak. A lot of researchers are disregarded. A lot of the circle makers are, bad news in terms of a lot of people out there. Because you're, I don't know what you are. What are you, wannabes, or why is a circle maker so bad? Like,
well, that's what
I haven't understood that really.
We get that from the researchers saying, oh, you're just trying to claim something you haven't done. You're trying to take credit for something.
Why would someone do that?
Why would? Well, there are people who would do that. I mean, there's some outrageous stuff going on in the research community, and there's outrageous claims about circle makers, but people don't bother to get to know us. But I mean, I think there's a lot more outrageous things going on in the research community.
It's prejudice, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what's going on here. It's the reason you're at horns with each other is because you're both prejudiced about each other. The circle maker and the researcher have the same opinion of each other, a negative one. So I think if that can be broken down, I'd love to hear what they've got to say. Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping with this show is going to say, well, there is a forum, there's a platform, if you want to sort of use it, which, then you can't, nobody can lie about it afterwards and say, they didn't, the circle makers didn't do anything, didn't say anything. It's like, it's here, it's live.
But also it's unattractive to send negative thoughts and feelings about people, isn't it? For me to not respect researchers, that makes me pretty ugly, really. But if you look at it like the prejudice thing, but it's like, but if your hands are in the air and you're like, let's talk about it. Let's use the opportunity to get rid of these negative feelings and really get to the root of what's going on here, because everyone's got something worth listening to.
Yeah, we got Dorothy on the Dorothy. Sorry, done it again. Dorothy, hello, Dorothy. James on the Skype, so we should ask James a question. James, if you've been to Wiltshire, have you met any other circle makers, and how did you get on? This is Wiltshire-based ones now. Have you met any sort of circle makers?
I haven't met any circle makers in Wiltshire, but I have met quite a few circle makers in London.
Right. How did you get on? I mean, just because I don't know you at all. I mean, in case anybody actually thinks that we're sort of like fielding these questions as well. I mean, I don't know you. I've not met. Have we been?
No. Well, we did meet once years and years ago.
Right.
In 1997.
Right. Okay. Was it a brief one, or
it was a different incarnation of you, though. This was in when you were very sober.
Was there a time?
A researcher.
Was this when I was the desperately serious researcher, and
you were at pains to show everyone how desperately sober and serious you were.
Yeah. Used to wear a suit when I did lectures and
suits.
No.
You did take drugs. You worked for Customs and Excise.
Well, I did take drugs when I worked for Customs and Excise, actually, but they didn't really know very much about that, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I didn't know that you were a circle maker until it came out in 2000 in the papers, you know? But I kind of, it's interesting because obviously I used to read your magazine, which was Truth Seekers Review,
right.
Which was really interesting and really great, but you were kind of on a different tip then, almost, so that's how I kind of see it now. Yeah, which, I think everyone has a journey through that kind of belief system and a journey through paranormal belief and goes through different stages of kind of understanding and representation and belief and stuff. But
that's a good way of putting it.
You seem like a very different person, and I'm sure I was as well.
I think I think the trouble I've had in the past is putting forward strange, wacky ideas and beliefs in the paranormal realms and UFOs and things like that. You're so desperate for people to take what you're saying seriously. You use any tool in your armory, i.e., people will think more of you if you wear a suit. It's a known fact.
It's Graham Birdsall school of ufology.
Yes, yeah. But you have to present yourself well, because there are some people that just won't sort of see it if you're sort of a hippie or a crusty or whatever. It's like they go, oh, fucking hell, who's that then? But my feeling on this has been over the years that really, with me transitioning into being the circle maker and having been a circle maker for some years when I was still being put forward as being the serious researcher, I was making circles secretly in the background to do this as research, is that when you get down to the bottom line with it, you have to actually be who you are. And if who you are is, if you're trying to put it forward as this is who you are, then you have to, it's warts and all, it's swearing, it's me, I'm from Wales, this is really who I am. And I feel much more comfortable with this than I do, sort of trying to be the civil servant, trying to be the Matt that I'm not. This is really who I am. Yeah. Sorry, can you say that again?
I wonder if Nick Pope's the secret circle maker.
Well, I don't know actually. I don't know about Nick. No, not too sure there. He doesn't seem that motivated with it really. I think he's got his opinions on it, but
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, lots of researchers.
Interesting journey that I guess you've had then, coming from Truth Seekers Review to now, and that whole journey.
And I really wasn't prepared for being exposed as a crop circle maker, so it wasn't something that I came into easily. But I thought, well, when I got exposed for being a circle maker, and it came out and it caused a lot of people a lot of pain, and some people around us that we were good friends with disowned us. Some people tried to commit suicide because they were so upset at the news that, serious matters, it was actually making circles. And I thought, well, I can take this two ways. I can either tell people I'm joking, it's not real, no, I didn't really make circles, just one or two, and I can do it that way. Or I can stand by my guns and actually say, no, this is real, and I think you need to meet these circle makers, and you need to find out what's going on, because there's something bigger going on here, and this is good, and you need to. So part of my truth seeking was to sort of expose myself. Yes, in a public way, and not that sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? I'm always looking for the rude side.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's risky.
Expose yourself in a public place.
It's unknown territory, isn't it? I mean, it's not classed as almost a cult for no reason. I mean, there are a lot of politics flying and emotions riding very high. I mean, it's dangerous ground to a certain extent, especially when you've got people, committing suicide.
Yes.
Not attempting and failing, but
we need to deal with these subjects sensitively, because this is an awkward area. I mean, and I'm hoping that this channel will do it. And it really does take a lot of. You need to sit people down on this. This is my thing. I think you need to sit people down on the seat, like yourself, and you need to see the honest side of people, because you'd have to be a bloody good actor, I think, to put all this stuff on and to talk.
Yeah, but this is where MI5 secret agents come from, is because people obviously recognise that because their own belief systems believe that people like you can't be telling the truth because they believe they're superior to you. That's when that you must be super intelligent. You must be working for a secret government agency. But it's because people don't communicate and people judge so harshly without giving people the time of day. That's where all these conspiracy theories come from. It's education.
And I mean, I'm hoping even people like his name's been mentioned a few times tonight on the chat room, but even the Andy Buckleys,
everyone's got something to say.
I hate to say it, but I mean, he's a real pain in the arse, and he comes out with some real made up stuff. I mean, it's like right off the end of the scale on the nonsense spectrum. But even I'd really like to get him to come in on this show. Yeah. But I mean, I realise that obviously for somebody who's as paranoid as Andy Buckley, who thinks that we're all working for MI5 and we're all deceivers and all this sort of stuff, that somebody like him would never come on the show, because I mean, he's got up and walked out of pubs, when he's seen us. He's got very But the thing is, I thought, well, okay, I'll offer it to him. I'll offer him the opportunity. Even somebody like Andy Buckley, that I think, oh my God, I will reel it back and I will be polite. And if necessary, I would say, well, I'll even hand over the reins of the show. I'll hand it over.
I'd take it if I felt you were belittling somebody deliberately.
Yeah, I'll hand the reins of the show over, and I'll be here to push the buttons to change the camera positions. We could have a chairperson of Andy Buckley's own choosing, and if that chairperson says, shut your mouth, Matt, then I shut my mouth. We give Mr. Buckley his chance to speak, and we let him tell people why I work for the government, and we work through this, because, I think that this should be sort of discussed. I think this should be on the table.
But it'd be more entertaining as well. It'd be.
Sorry.
I can't hear Matt.
There we go. Go on then, James, sorry.
Does that, does it bother you that people think you're an MI5 agent? Does that, because it seems to really rile you up?
It's pathetic, I think. It's really pathetic because what they base it on is the fact that I was once a civil servant working for Customs and Excise, and I happen to know a guy called Tim Matthews. I don't know Tim Matthews that well because he was a UFO researcher. He asked me to come and asked me to come and speak at some of his things he put on, and also, I spoke at other places where he was asked to speak. He's been asked to speak a handful of times. I've been asked to speak many more times than he has. But we've met each other along the road, and I don't really know the guy that well, and he asked me because I was into video to do his wedding, to video his wedding, and I went and did it. And some bloke called Robin Ramsey, who does a magazine called Lobster, then decided to say that I work for the government, MI5, and I'm some sort of secret agent type thing. And I'm thinking, well, this obviously is so badly researched because this Robin Ramsey has not come to speak to me. He's not asked me. He's not rung me up. He doesn't know anything about me, really. He hasn't come to find out whether I'm a nice person. But he's writing all this stuff about me with such conviction that I know Tim Matthews and I was a former civil servant, so now I must be working for MI5. Guilty by association, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, this is just such bad research. This is exactly what I was against this stuff in Truth Seekers Review. Give people the right to reply, And
I knew Tim. I knew Tim Matthews.
Yeah.
I don't know what the truth is about Tim Matthews.
Nor me. I mean, he's got an interesting past, for much more interesting than me, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I knew Tim. I knew him quite well for a while. Spoke to him on the phone. We were publishing a magazine at the time. He was offering to kind of set up a conference for us, and then he was, do you want to come down to Rudlow Manor? We can get into the underground base, and all kinds of things were going on. Yeah. And it's funny because when I look back at that time, there was an element of paranoia for me at that time personally. It feels like a very paranoid time looking back, which I think is an experience that's common for a lot of people who get drawn into paranormal and UFOs and all that. That's part of the game, isn't it, almost?
But paranoia is part of mischief, isn't it? When you're up to no good, you're going to be highly paranoid.
Yeah.
So for me, if he thinks that Matt's MI5, that tells me that he's probably up to no good.
Well, not Tim, but this guy Robin Ramsey who wrote it up, and then Andy Buckley, following on from Robin Ramsey and republishing his stuff, but putting his extra stamp of authority on it. Like it's true, folks. Because I read it somewhere and I know it must be true. And the thing is, the statements that Andy has made, which really do wind me up, are the absolute factual things, like Paul Obi committed suicide. He was a friend of Agent Bob and Agent Fanny, or Bob and Fanny. They knew him much better than I did because they'd been together. I mean, Agent Bob was in the army with Paul Obi. They were in the army together. The guy committed suicide. He'd threatened to do it many times. He tried it once or twice, before and failed. And then he wrote a nice note and went and did it, And then Andy Buckley comes along and says, no, he was killed by the government. The government bumped this circle maker off. And it's like, well, you can tell people about your stories about MI5 and they might believe you, but this is a guy's life, and this is a guy committed suicide. That's terribly sad to fabricate that. Now, that didn't come from Robin Ramsey. That came from Andy Buckley. It didn't come from anybody else because, this appeared in his 777 report.
Why shouldn't he express his opinions? We express ours in as much detail.
But had Andy Buckley bothered to come and speak to any of his friends and find out, what had gone on?
Had you bothered to speak to Andy Buckley?
Well, I have actually, because we met him in the pub and we said, look, come on, geezer, you can't say things like that. And, Agent Bob and Fanny were in the pub and they were very incensed, and they said to Andy, I think Bob actually said, well, I shook his hand and I squeezed it, because it's like, excuse me, you can't say that about a friend. And he squeezed his hand tight, And
but that's not communicating, is it?
Well, it's trying to. I think he was trying to say, look, come on, you can't say this. You don't know what you're talking about. And Buckley was incensed, got up and walked out. And but I mean, what can you do with these people? What can you do? I mean, I feel sorry for him.
No, I think all this means is nobody knows how to behave correctly, because there is no right and wrong. There's just the consequences of your actions. I mean, if Andy Buckley obviously feels that he's burnt bridges and there's no olive tree available to him, and whoever else, but I think if you keep writing people off, you're fueling the fire of their belief systems. You need to break the chain by offering an olive branch to those.
Well, that's what I'd like
people.
to do. I mean, but there's so many things that would be on the table. If I brought Andy in, he knows that I'm going to ask the questions which are going to be quite embarrassing. Which is obviously the Paul Obie death thing. Not being a government sort of conspiracy. That's going to be definitely asked.
It's all about intent at the end of the day. If your intent is to come across arrogant and belittle someone, you may succeed, you may not. If your intent is to come and prove to the world that circle makers are idiots, then you may succeed, you may not. I mean, you don't know, do you? But I think the fact that everybody avoids these opportunities, then I think until you try it, you won't know. I think anyone that's been on this programme so far has come across really well.
Yes, we're lucky to have had the people we've had, because it's not been easy to find people who are prepared to come on. And we're working hard to try and get some people in from further areas, because they live in other parts of the country and things like that, and that costs money and time, and they've got jobs and all sorts of stuff. But we'd like to get people in. But I'm up for it. I think that Andy would feel very intimidated by knowing that I will ask the questions that are the embarrassing questions. But I would hope that if he feels the conviction that he does feel in order to write these things, that he would have damn good answers for me, and he would be able to put me in my place. There's room for everybody to learn, and I think everybody has something to offer. It doesn't matter how well you get on with somebody or how little you get on with somebody. Everyone has something to offer the next person, and I think it's worth it. Yeah, James, did you have something to say a minute ago? Sorry, we didn't have you faded up very well.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Sorry. I can't hear you, see?
Yeah, well, I fainted it down because of this weird noise we got going on. It sort of goes, whip, whip, whip,
right.
whip. Somebody described it as a duck or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's Yorkshire.
Yes. Well, it's taking a few minutes for the sound to travel down from Yorkshire.
Yeah, I think for me, I can understand totally why you find what Buckley said really offensive, because he's talking about somebody you know personally, and that's totally understand that.
And me, and I know he's wrong.
Going into personal territory, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I guess it's part. People are going to form those kind of beliefs because you're in a world, and this is a field or whatever it draws strange beliefs and strange people, and people will have all kinds of ideas they're going to impose on all this. I don't think Matt's an MI5 agent. I don't think he is, but who knows?
Well, certainly this program, if anything, will help to dispel some of these ideas, or at least give people an idea of who you are and whether you're approachable or not, and whether they can talk to you. And I think that's this program is for the Buckleys of the world.
Yeah, but think about it. What relevance, if you are an MI5 agent, what relevance does that have to anybody other than a criminal? If you're an MI5 agent, how does that affect me?
Well,
it doesn't,
the thing I think Andy and people are trying to say is if I'm an MI5 agent, that I'm trying to dismiss that crop circles are made by aliens or some other force, because that in some way serves the government's agenda to kind of keep people in their place and not have them believing in aliens.
Oh, I see. So you're on about like Area 51 and that type of
it's about
cover-up.
It's about dismissing and you don't want people believing in the aliens because the government don't want people knowing about aliens at this point.
But I bet you could speak more of aliens and weird experiences than these people can. Is that?
Well, Andy's certainly got enough stories about seeing mutilated animals.
Let's hear them.
No, but he writes these, like he wrote his report in the 777 report accusing us of all these things, and then he told everybody that they weren't allowed to copy it and send it out to others. you know, and
it's hidden agendas that all that is, isn't it?
I mean,
It's how can you weigh things up when you're getting blocked like that?
I mean, I can understand it from the point of view of if it was a pre-release copy of that report and he was sending it out for us to read and reply to, so he could put our replies in there, then fair enough. But that's not what it was. It was not. It was specifically not to be given to the people who were included in the report, i.e., me. We were told that. We were told specifically not to be given to the people who were in it.
If he feels that you're a threat to him and to his work, then he's going to behave like that, isn't he?
I really don't understand where he's coming from. I'm even. I mean, I know it's rude, but I'm even wondering whether the guy's completely sane in coming out with some of this
That's
stuff.
crossed my mind in some of the things I've heard.
Because it's made up. I mean, it's not research. If Andy Buckley wanted to do research on Matt Williams and put together a case that actually says, well, look what he's done in the past and look at what sort of person he is now, he's changed his views, that's fair enough. But making associations like, well, he knows Tim Matthews, so guilty by association, that's weak to me. I think that's very weak.
But also, if you are an all eggs in one basket type person where this is your belief and you can't think of anything else, just this, then you've got something to hide. You're afraid of something. What measure is that? What is jeopardised if you sneak out and believe in something Matt might be saying, or someone? What's going to happen to that person if they take the blinkers off? I
mean, he said that John Lundberg works for MI5 as well. I think he's up there. I mean, I'm down here compared to John Lundberg. Lundberg is like Mr. Ringleader, or he's well up there. So I think he said that Lundberg's connection with MI5 was he was in an art school. Get this right now. He was in an art school, and the art school happens to be across the road or down or opposite MI5's building. So because he's in the art school and he's so close to MI5, then he must be
into things. Yeah.
Well, it's
because he's got one idea and he has to be right. So he's drawing conclusions to anything that he comes across. Yeah. That's unfortunate for that person.
And he says John Lundberg's address. Now, I don't even know John Lundberg's home address, but he says his home address is in a building that doesn't appear in the land registry. I mean, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. What difference does that make? I mean, why would somebody even look into the land registry? And apparently it doesn't appear in the land registry. Now, I'm thinking, well, maybe it's not in the land registry because it just doesn't happen to be in the land registry. It's not in the land registry as an MI5 building. It's just not in the land registry. So because it's not in the land registry, it must be a safe house for MI5.
You've got to be aware of the sensitivities to these areas. We've said that people have attempted suicide and committed suicide on this subject, and with I'm wary talking about people like this because like I keep saying, these people that just solely concentrate all their efforts on one thing, they're obsessed. So when I say what are they going to lose if they sneak out of their comfort zone and listen to what someone else has got to say, it could be the difference between life and death for these people. How do you know these people aren't the people that are going to commit suicide? Because I'm measuring the obsession and when people are so reluctant to listen to what somebody else has to say, I say, what are you afraid of? What are you scared of? And it must be something big. Who doesn't want to, I dared to go and associate myself with what I was told were devils, and I know they're not devils now, but at the time it was like question mark. But if I'm saying to you, if I'd been the person that didn't step over the boundary and go and have a sniff out, see what was going on over the other side, then I would have had something that I was holding on to, that I was afraid to lose. Why wouldn't somebody sniff out both sides of the story if they didn't have something to lose? So you've got to be sensitive to the emotions running through these people. Indeed,
yes. I wouldn't want to be responsible for doing anything which winds Mr. Buckley up to the point of getting...
offending them,
Yeah.
It's...
Well, I think that it's fair game to try and discuss the open points, because if somebody is clearly making it up as they go along, I mean...
well, that's your opinion, isn't it?
It is my opinion.
I can't say that because I don't know this person.
Yeah, I mean... It's things like, the Andy Buckley situation is saying... that people like Paul Obi, were killed by the government. That's clearly not true. It's so basic, that nugget of information, that if you say, well, let's take all these little nuggets that we know these aren't true. I mean, you can believe that Matt Williams works for MI5, that's fine, but you can't turn around and say that Paul Obi was killed by the government. He wasn't.
You can say that. People can say that. Why can't people say that?
They said that about Paul Weigel as well, and he was a crop circle researcher. He never made circles. They said, he was killed by the government. His family were really upset over that.
I watched Lisa die, and I've heard that she committed suicide, and it's like, what?
I know.
So bollocks to all of that. People are allowed to say what they want to say, but to respect somebody, fucking listen to what I got to say.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree with what I say, and you want to write me off, cool. But let's listen to what you've got to say.
Yeah. We never really sat down. You see, I mean, this is the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, where's the right of reply? I'm giving Andy the right of reply, and like I say, I'm more than happy for.
Why specifically him though? Why? There must be a million people out there that have something to say.
Yeah. Any crop circle researcher who wants to come on this program and literally bring their own chair. Their own chairperson, and they can. If that person says, "Shut your mouth, Matt," right? I will shut my mouth.
I think the message has been given.
Yeah.
I think
so. It's out there for people.
Don't push it. I mean,
if people want to come on, they can come on and they can challenge, and I will shut my mouth and we'll listen to what you got to say. We'll take it in turns.
And I've said I'm a fair person, and I'm quite good at debates as well. I can, whatever argument you give me, I can argue the opposite side.
Yeah.
Not because I'm prejudiced, just because it's interesting to do that.
Yeah, we won't fill the room with circle makers. We'll make it just you and then me and then the Skype in people who want to Skype in, and we'll let you choose who the Skype names are so that we can prove that we're not just taking calls from circle makers and excluding
but
others.
The chat room's free. These people that say they're the same callers, whatever.
Yeah.
That box, anyone can say, "Can you call me?" and we can call them.
Yes.
Like
Although
if people don't do that, then you've got the freedom to throw ideas like that around.
Agent F and B, Agent D, Agent S. Yes. Well, that's why we make the joke, you see, because that's why we're calling them Agent this and Agent that, is because people have been calling us government agents, so we take the piss by saying, well, all right then, come on then, we're Agent this, Agent that.
You have to look on the other side. If that was me saying Andy Buckley was a spy, if Andy Buckley was he's an alien, he's a bloody lizard. I've seen it. I mean, how would he respond?
People have said that
would
about
he
me.
not have a joke? Would he not call himself bloody, who's that geezer? I won't ask Dave.
Right.
What was his name? Not Eddie Izzard.
Oh, yeah.
That other guy.
David Icke.
Icke, yeah.
Oh, right, sorry. Eddie Izzard. Lizard. So you're getting confused. Eddie Izzard, Lizard, sorry.
How would Andy Buckley respond? Seriously, how would he respond if I said he was a lizard?
I think he'd
at some point
I got
he would
a feeling
laugh,
he'd like it.
He would joke and he would use the word, or it's natural to take the piss out of something when it's not true.
My suspicion is, this is my suspicion, and I've put this in my YouTube channel, is that Andy's feeding off this. Andy's feeding off this attention. And, I'm more than happy to give him the attention he desires if he's going to put bollocks around the place. I'm going to discuss that. But then eventually I hope it'll be dismissed, because people will say, well, come on, it's just crap, this.
I sense a little bit of antagonism, so I think we should talk about somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, but by all means, come on. I went the extra mile. Hang on a sec. Just dropped something on the floor. I went the extra mile to actually go up to Andy and say, look, would you like to sit down and have a chat? And I think it freaked him right out. It was like, he's asking me to sit down and have a chat. I was like, well, yeah, come on. Let's have a chat.
Comfort zone.
Yeah, no.
He's probably never been out of it. For some people, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about, you're going to find it more difficult because you know him and you've got personal experiences. He's embarrassed you, he's insulted you probably. So you have got probably a bit of negative energy towards him. So he's not here to defend himself. So
James, you have anything to say on that? I'm just going to read the channel a sec.
I imagine if you said that to Andy, then he's probably interpreted that as he's on the right track and an MI5 are onto him and you're checking out what he knows.
self-fulfilling prophecy type of thing. It's sort of like, you know, oh, we're talking about it so much, it must be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but what importance does it have?
It means nothing.
Because if you can talk about him for this long, and his work, then why isn't he going to do the same about you? You're both behaving in the same manner, aren't you?
Well, yeah, we're feeding off each other. But, I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, people have accused me of being a lizard. People have accused me of being a government agent. People have accused me of this, that, and the other. But all of this negative stuff they've been accusing me of has all started since I said I was a circle maker. You know, none of this stuff happened before I was a bloody, you know, when I was a researcher. It only started happening because I'm a circle maker. And then it's like, gotta find shit on Williams now. Gotta find shit on Williams, drag him down, you know, make him suffer. And it's like, okay, it hasn't worked because
that's your interpretation, isn't it?
Well, it is my interpretation, but my reaction to that is, you know, if I'm a bad guy, then let's have a TV program and you can see what a bad guy I am. We'll have a chat, you know.
It's not for you to advertise yourself as a good guy. It's whether you advertise yourself as good or bad. That it's for somebody else's.
Yeah, but how better can you do it than actually sort of...
Yeah, but we're giving all this time to talking about this chap, and he's not here to give the other side. Like, I can't form an opinion, so when we're talking about him, it's difficult for me to...
Absolutely.
To do anything, because it's like, well, I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you know, not just a TV program. I'm a Mr. Ego Williams, as I'm called by a certain big circle maker out there.
But you are, though. You are. You acknowledge it.
I got an... Well, yeah, but I mean...
We all have faults.
Somebody's got to do it. Do you know what I mean? That's my attitude, is somebody's fucking
We've
got to do it.
We've all got faults. Like, but we're only using them as weapons when we feel like we're threatened by somebody. And
yes.
So you both obviously feel threatened by each other. So you're both set on firing at each other. It's like...
Yeah, we're challenging the truth. But I mean, you know,
at
least I give somebody a right to reply. You know?
I think there's a serious point to make, though, that, you know...
Go on, then. If it's serious, you better make it.
Is he still there?
Hello? Can you hear us?
Have you faded him out?
No, he's up.
Yeah. I think when people can get really enmeshed in these belief systems and they can get drawn into these belief systems, it can have really negative effects on people's mental health, and that's true, you know.
Yes.
And I certainly look at, you know, when I was heavily into all the whole paranormal thing, I spent quite a few years really drawn into it. And you read stuff into things like, I was sat at a friend's house, he's a guy that also made circles with us, and I picked up a book at random off the shelf and opened it, and it just said James and Phil, CIA agents. And that's, you know, that was synchronicity, that was whatever you want to call it, but you know, people can make all kinds of odd conclusions from odd kind of events, and you know, when they're like enmeshed into the belief system, it can, you know, certainly for me, it messed my head up being into all the paranormal stuff for quite a long time. It was a dark time when I look back at it, a really paranoid time. I don't look at it in the same way now, so I find it a lot easier to kind of deal with and read about and be into. But it can scare you, it can draw you into dark places in your mind, I think, you know. Which I think is maybe where book plays.
Still does for me. I mean, I do know they're out there watching you, and I do know they listen to your phone calls, and they do come to your house and watch you. I've had people watching me outside my house, and for real, this is not like made up territory. We got photos of the bastards doing it, and we've got. Yeah.
I've got to be on the fence because you sound like this the geezer you've been chatting about.
No. I mean, in Truth Seekers Review magazine, right, we said, look, we've been followed because we were doing stuff on military bases. We know they were following us. We got photos of them. We, you know, got their number plates, blah, blah, blah. And they came around the house. And then they went to visit other UFO researchers around the UK. And they were from Special Branch. And these people rang me up and said, we've just been visited by people who are asking us questions about you.
Special Branch, aren't they volunteers anyway?
No, Special Branch are high up in the police force. They're like...
No, because I did a locksmithing course with the Special Branch, and they were just... I was talking to them, they're like, we're...
Not specials. Not special
branch.
Special branch.
What's the difference?
Well, you know, like Scotland Yard, you know, in like London, you know, it's New Scotland Yard and all that. They've got like the highest police officers there. Like
it's the CID?
They're like the FBI, if you
so
like.
What's the specials then?
The political police.
Specials are special constables. They're the ones that wear the blue hats, you know. They're the volunteers. They're volunteers.
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay.
So Special Branch...
Learn something there, then.
Yeah, they're a bit higher up. They're not military intelligence, but they work closely with them. And these people have really watched people, and I think they do, but what people don't realise, I'm not saying, our friend that we were just chatting about, but what people don't realise is if you actually look into how the mechanisms of these places work, they want to find out who are the terrorists, who are the nutters,
I was thinking
who are the
that
ones
earlier,
breaking into military bases like me, and they want to suss out what's going on. And when you got crop circles, there was a time when the government were really worried about who was making crop circles, because they didn't know, and Doug and Dave weren't out there, and the government were going, well, what is this? Even the royal family and people, and still do. I think even though, it's out there that people are making stuff, the Duke of York or whatever, he still gets UFO magazines, he's into it all, and, people think that the government are trying to hide this stuff. I think they're just as, some people in the government are just as paranoid as some of the believers in this, and they're thinking that something's going on.
I remember
some of them are worried about it.
Do you remember when I met Goldie Hawn? She came up the barge, and
Yes.
I met her up on the hill.
Met Goldie Hawn, yeah.
Yeah, and she asked me what I thought it was that made them, when I was like, they're man-made. And she was like, no. She'd come all this way because she believed in the magic. And I thought, Jesus, who am I to burst her bubble? How arrogant do I feel?
Yeah.
And I don't think she believed me anyway, so nothing was
probably
lost anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? Bursting people's bubbles, and I think that they won't believe a lot of this, So, us doing this TV program, if people are that hardcore belief that this is a government conspiracy to play down the magic and the truth of the crop circles, then they're not going to believe what's in this channel. But it's the best chance they've got of actually meeting circle makers in a non-invasive way, because they won't come up to you in the pub and talk to you. But this channel is disarming, isn't it?
But still, people are still. Even with this transition, people are still drawing conclusions with aliens. Like I've heard several times now that the circle makers are being channeled.
Yes.
With these designs and this artwork, so people won't give up. These people that believe in aliens, if the truth hits them, they will find something else to replace it, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are still loads of people out there. Crop Dolly says, "Hello, Crop Dolly."
I haven't heard once from Crop Dolly. Hi.
Yes, later in the evening, perhaps. So there are still loads of people out there who are of the opinion it's impossible to make certain circles by hand. And Hedgedread then replies, "Can't help them, Dolly." Wraithy says, "Unified field." Unified field. I think that's Wraithy as an artist. He's got this thing where he talks about the researchers and the circle makers. We're all on a how does he describe it? We're all here to learn from each other. It's all about learning. I think something like
I'd
that.
agree with that.
He's got something. He can probably fill us in on that in a second. But Rob Irving says, "Crop Dolly, does that bother you?" i.e. what she was saying earlier on, which I've got to remind myself now. It's
but not all crop circles being man-made.
Yeah, not all crop circles being man-made. And Rob Irving is asking, does that worry her? And I'm trying to look for the answer. It's a lot more pleasant now on there, I must say, she says. It's a lot more pleasant now on there, I must say. So I don't know if that's an answer. And then she says, "I was too scared to make a comment before."
See, this is people's egos at stake, isn't it? People's identities and...
Dorothy is saying, "I would say we're a good bunch that watch this channel and we would listen intently." Crop Dolly says, "There are still lots of people out there who are of the opinion it's impossible." Oh, I've had that one before, sorry. I have to scroll down. Dorothy says, "MP Williams is nowhere near an agent of the government. We all watch this channel, and it's only a relatively small number of us that watch." Yeah. Plan 9 says, "James is the real MI5 agent." What do you say about that, James?
I don't think I'm an alien.
I've often thought I'm a bloody alien because
illegal alien.
I just don't see myself thinking this way a lot of other people do. So I kind of say to myself, "Am I an alien?" So yes, but James is really awesome in my opinion, as Dorothy says. Oh, you got a fan there?
Yeah, I'm a fan as well, James. I think you sound like a cool geezer.
Maybe James has mind control on me, and he is a spook. Yeah. Wraithy says, sorry, no research and intelligent unit has ever paid interest. Well, I think they have, but I think they came to their conclusions it was people a long time ago, and they haven't been that involved since. I think they've kind of dismissed it now. They're not that interested in it in crop circles. That's what I tend to see. I mean, you get the military helicopters flying around, but I honestly don't think.
Yeah, but they probably encourage it.
Sorry, James.
Sorry. I mean, you hear about that, the military helicopters, don't you?
Yes.
And, that's probably just the pilots wanting to kind of have a look.
They do, yeah.
Because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, no, what I was going to say is these officials probably encourage the phenomena that it is aliens because it means that they can go and practice their secret weapons, their secret planes, their secret spy crafts. If you wanted to be, conjure up ideas, then that would be the way to go, isn't it, really? It's like, what a great cover-up for the real technology that's going on.
I've seen a lot of strange things in the area. I've wondered if some of them are military. I think some of them just seem too fantastic.
Why only some of them?
Well, some of them, I think to myself, well, maybe, like that helicopter that was hovering one night, that didn't have any sound, but it was so close to us it couldn't have not had its blades turning, and we should have been able to hear it, but it was completely silent. And then it sort of went no, and flew off. That one was a weird one, and I'm thinking, well, maybe that helicopter had some sort of silencer.
That sounds very electronic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like maybe it had some sort of silencing system on it. Maybe it was military. But, what are the military doing in this area that right in front of crop circle researchers? Why would they be doing all this stuff right in front of a bunch of crop circle researchers and people with cameras and who are looking for UFOs? Why would the military do it right in front of a bunch of people like that?
Because a bunch of people like that are insignificant to the technology that they're playing about with.
I think they want to see whether people suss it or not. I think that if they're doing it, it doesn't explain everything.
This is why there are so many people. Listen to what you're saying. It's like this is how the brain works. Like when you haven't got an answer there in front of you, you can conjure up all these ideas about what are they up to, and it's so typical of this area.
But I think if you want to get a good gauge of what people are seeing and how do they manage to film it, and do they manage to get any photos of it, and what do the photos come out like, and what do people conclude? The military are playing with psyops, and they want to fuck with people's heads.
Just go out and stay in the fields. Sleep out in the fields. That's what we used to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
We used to see a lot.
We used to see a hell of a lot of stuff, and by being out here, you do get to see more of it. But I think they're almost planting it in your face. They're going, here you are. You want to see UFOs? Here's our UFO. What do you think of it? How did you interpret it? Did you think it was a military craft, or did you say it was a UFO? Because if you say it was a UFO, we can take that out to Iraq, and we can fuck with people's heads in Iraq with it. Maybe we'll sort of get these people who are slightly less sophisticated in their ways of life.
Do you know what it
is?
Really
fuck with their heads.
Do you know what it is? I start to switch off when I listen to stuff like this. I get a bit bored, and the reason is because this is the shit I have to put up with in here. When your brain, you must translate that much of what your brain thinks in any one day. It goes on and on and on and on. So I get a headache just listening to my own brain. But when I hear somebody else trying to conjure up wild ideas that you conjure up yourself, it's like, you have to switch off. It's like, fucking hell, that's your shit.
We're probably reaching the threshold limit of... we're on 12:30 here. You know that, don't you?
No.
12:30.
Fucking hell. I'm dying for a toilet.
Do you want to pop off?
Yeah.
Jog off then. Jog off. Right, yeah. I'm not really wanting the toilet. There have been times when I've had to go to the toilet and I had to run. But that's the reality of doing this show is... I'm doing pretty well, yeah. James, anything you want to ask anybody in the channel? Because have you been following the channel?
I've been having a quick look. I just wanted to pick up what you were saying there, Matt, really, about the whole, have you read Mirage Men?
Oh, right. I better fade out my radio mic because we were just following somebody into the toilet. That was great. I just thought, what the hell's that noise? Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. That's the light doesn't work, and she was turning the light on. She was like trying to get the light on. Next thing we'd have been party to something I just couldn't possibly describe. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead there.
Yeah, just picking up what you were saying there about have you read Mirage Men?
But,
yeah.
Is this by Rob Rob Irving, Pilkington, and
Mark
Lundberg?
Pilkington, yeah.
Mark Pilkington, right, okay.
And essentially that is kind of what that's about. And then if you look at Project Beta by Greg Bishop as well,
right.
Clearly the UFO phenomenon is used as a psychological thing. Stories are planted into the UFO field, into the paranormal field for whatever reasons. You can kind of draw your own conclusions about that. And if you look at what you were kind of talking about earlier, I think there is a lot of evidence to say that certainly in the mid to late 90s, there was some kind of operation running against ufology in Britain that was looking at, people who were interested in getting into military bases, trying to draw those people out. There was something going on, and we had visits from people who turned up to see us, I think a lot of other UFO people involved in the UFO field around that time were involved in that, I don't know a lot about it, but it certainly happened to us, and I don't know about Tim Matthews. We talked about him earlier. I don't know the truth around the allegations about him or not.
Yeah. It
was a paranoid time, but something was occurring in the kind of UFO research sort of community around that time.
Yes.
But again, do the powers that be want to encourage a belief in crop circles, in like you say, testing out black triangles? What's this? Is it a UFO or a drone? It's a UFO. I'm sure all that stuff is going on still.
Yeah, well, we're just talking about there was a little paranoid time in the 90s when there did seem to be some sort of weird stuff going on with some researchers and visits from shady officials and who knows who's the good guys and who the bad guys are and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, my attitude has always been try and meet people, and see what they're like. You get a really good idea from meeting a person and speaking to them, what they're really about. You can judge them very quickly, but a TV program is so one-dimensional, and reading a book is two-dimensional. It's got a bit more information, a bit more, there's a bit more meat on it, but it's edited, it's biased. It's how do you know the truth? You've got to get on the ground and you've got to meet people. That's why I became a UFO researcher, is to meet the witnesses, to meet the people who said they were having these abduction experiences. Are they telling the truth? Are they lying to me? Where are they coming from? Are they trying to make money? Are they trying to get some fame? Are they seriously, are they telling the truth and they're actually seriously disturbed over what's happened to them? And do they need help? And I wanted to gather this information and make my own mind up on it. The only way to do that is to get out there and literally into the fields, like with crop circles, to go and actually find out for yourself. Don't read a book, don't watch a TV program. You can't trust that stuff. You really can't trust it. You've got to find out for yourself.
Why don't people have that in them to want to do that? Why are people so...
It's called armchair research. That's what we called it. It's armchair research. It's like I can watch a television program and I can tell that this is real and this isn't real.
Yeah, okay.
I can watch a television
again.
Yeah, I can watch a TV program and I just know Matthew Williams is wrong and I know he works for the government. And it's like, and why? Because, well, I read it somewhere and I've seen him on a TV program and they put some music on behind him and it went do 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 whilst he was talking. So obviously he's a dodgy guy. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. You watch a TV program where they put some do 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 music in the background, and now you think I'm a nasty guy. But if you edited that program and you put the do 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 music on behind the researchers, you'd be thinking they're the liars.
So you think you're saying that some people are unaware of their intelligence, but they misread it as super intelligence?
Because I think people are easily influenced.
Yeah,
people are very easily influenced, and I was.
I'd agree with that.
I loved the idea of crop circles being made by aliens until I went and found out about it.
You still believe in aliens?
Yes. Yeah.
We haven't moved on that much then.
Not really, no, because it hasn't actually changed my opinion of what I believed before I came into crop circles. Apart from, me being a little bit more discriminatory, now I can actually tell a little bit more about people. I think I'm not a terrible judge of character, but I realised I was wrong about a lot of things, and it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And I've always said to people that being involved in crop circles is a really good. It's a good school. It's a good school for understanding how belief mechanisms work, religions, cults, and things like that, because you get to sort of see it all in a little melting pot, and if you want to research it, you can actually research crop circles from one side all the way across to the other, maybe in 1 or 2 seasons, and you'll know all the answers. And if you really have the guts to do it, you can go right from one side to the other. Whereas with UFOs, a UFO is not there. It doesn't hang around. A crop circle does. A ghost doesn't display itself to you, and but a crop circle is there. You can get in it. You can meet
thought of it like that.
You can meet the people. You can find out the opinions, and you can make your judgments. And you can do that all within maybe a year or 2 years of 2 seasons. You probably have all your answers if you want those answers.
It's interesting the point you've made to me, because I have been ignorant. I haven't realised that society has evolved. In the last 10 years after leaving here, I've lived in several different counties, and coming back, it's like there are people that have never left the county who are still manifesting the same thoughts that they were manifesting 10 years ago. So yeah, I think society is evolving, isn't it? Has evolved.
Sorry, I had the
from
camera on me then.
I just find it difficult to believe that 10 years on and people still believe in MI5. They're, people they know to be MI5 agents.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much in that respect. It hasn't, yeah.
It's because life experiences don't... If you don't go and do stuff and speak to people, it's like the saying, isn't it? If you always get what you've always got, you've always got what you always get.
Yeah. Well, we've still got Rob Irving in channel. Hey.
How many other people?
We've got some other... We'll name the names. We've got Avabasa, Bluestone, Crop Dolly, Darthy, Dion, Dread, Inco, Jimone. See now, Rob, we thought that Jimone was you.
Yeah.
We thought that Jimone must be Rob Irving. We came to this conclusion, so we had a conspiracy theory going on.
Maybe he's got 2 computers running.
Maybe, yes. Then there's Plan 9, Swim, and Your Worst Nightmare. So,
I've recognised that name for some reason recently.
What?
Your Worst Nightmare.
Your Worst Nightmare.
Maybe I've seen a Facebook friend or someone on... I've seen that name somewhere recently.
Yeah. And we've got...
maybe you read it out last week or something. I don't know.
So TV is a mind control, Dorothy says. That's why I like the real opinions of real people. Rob Irving has said, Crop Dolly, I can't speak for all circles, who can, but almost of the one... Oh God, hang on, I can't read. But almost of the ones I made are unaccounted for. There you go. So most of Rob's stuff is unaccounted for.
What do you mean?
That people haven't claimed it or don't know who's made it. So
oh, really?
It's unaccounted for. Rob hasn't put his hand up and said, I did that. It's unaccounted for.
And nobody else has nicked it?
No, so the researchers will have taken it as real.
Oh, okay.
There's,
Then he definitely needs to come on, doesn't he?
Well, if he wants to admit to some of those, he may do, he may not. But certainly, yes, Dion's put up the link for www.miragemen.com. MIRAGE, miragemen.com.
What's that?
I think it's a book by Mark Pilkington about... I don't exactly know what it's about, actually, but I think it's got something to do with... it's American, and it's something to do with either UFOs or missiles. Somebody could probably tell us, actually. A friend of mine went out and did some film work out there. And strangely enough, I think John Lundberg and all that lot are involved with it. But I mean, they're all friends with Mark Pilkington. So there's a connection there. And I think there's a film going to come out of it eventually. But I can't say much more than that. I was told by my friend who filmed it that I must keep my mouth shut regarding his involvement with the project, so I'm probably saying too much by even admitting there's a project. But I think there's a film project behind Mirage Men which is supposed to come out eventually. A documentary, I think that's fair to say.
I'm actually wondering now whether these negative vibes that come from the researchers to the circle makers, is it about the circles or is it about arrogance and egotism? Is it about a man's pride? Are all these politics that exist between the circle makers and the researchers? Is it really about the circles, or is it about the alpha, the where you fit in the pack kind of thing?
There's a lot of female researchers, sticking their stake in the ground and.
Well, females can be alpha as well, can't they? I mean, is that not what it's about? All these people that that think one way and won't listen to what anybody else has got to say. Doesn't it really come down to, if you take all the bullshit away, it comes down to an individual's sin, the 7 sins, isn't it? Like all the things that a person shouldn't have, but they do, you know.
Well, Inco is saying, I think that Rob knows better than to kill his own circles, which is what I've done by admitting to which ones I've done. I'm taking the road less travelled, let's say, by doing a lot of what I've done. I mean, this show, and also admitting to the ones I've done, and it's just, you're not supposed to do it. It's like taboo. You don't claim your circles.
Taboo. Who says that the industry is owned to a set of people?
Yeah,
you know, the circles.
I'm thinking, you know, that something needed to change. You know, there needed to be a different, like, tack, a different direction in this. And
yeah, but it wasn't by choice. You were exposed because you got caught.
I was exposed because I got caught. Yes.
So you didn't intend to
come
expose.
out.
It wasn't
No.
a plan that you had.
Yeah. I mean, people like Rob and others they've been caught as well, because they've all kind of been exposed as circle makers, but I don't think they've actually gone out and said, like, you know, oh, these are all the ones we've done, then here we go, bang. But
even now the truth is coming out. The fact that we can say that all the ones that aren't accounted for were this person's made them, and all these comments, we're still hearing the truth, aren't we? We don't need to meet this person. We're hearing the truth. You know, we're hearing why circle makers are making them, why they keep it quiet.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. But I just thought it would be an interesting thing to throw it into the mix, you know, to kind of sort of, I'm a little bit of a, if anybody wants to accuse me of this, I'd agree with them. I'm a bit of a chaos agent. That's not agent of the government, but I'm a bit of a
of a troublemaker, you say.
I'm a bit of a fucker, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a bit of a fucker.
But we like you anyway, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I do think sometimes that it's interesting to see what happens if you kind of throw things in the air.
Yeah.
You know, and just go on then.
Yeah.
What happens now then? You know, where from here?
I'm like that with my debating. I like to, if somebody's fighting this case, whether I believe it or not, I'll fight the opposite case just to see how that person responds. It's a measure of their integrity at the end of the day.
Playing devil's advocate, yeah. That's what I'm interested in, you know, is sort of like seeing the other side. So, right, yeah. Dion is mentioning about Mirage Men, and then somebody went on to say, Dion, Mirage Men is published by Constable and Robinson in the UK and Skyhorse Publishing in the US, and it's a journey through the Badlands and backwaters of America. Mark Pilkington and John Lundberg uncover a 60, and then it stops. And then, so let's have a look. Dion 60, a 60. Oh, okay. And then it just stops. We don't get the rest of the things. So I suppose it must be a 60. I think it might be like something like a 60-year-old man. I think he's going to say a 60-year-old man.
Have
with
we
it.
Still got James on the phone?
I think we have. Yeah,
Goodness
James, you still there?
Yeah.
He's still there. You can pipe in anytime he wants. I just
saw the screen. I thought, oh crikey, is
I just thought it'd be nice to keep James on, because
this is
he
balloon
can
message, his chat screen.
pipe up, yeah, if he wants to say
It's
anything.
a 60-year-old story of the UFO.
Yeah.
Phenomenon, essentially.
Phenomena.
Phenomena.
Phenomena. Yeah, right. Sorry.
I think, you know, if anybody's interested in UFOs, they should read Mirage Men. They really should, because it's absolutely, it will
Blow you away.
Will question they believe.
So you talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, right. We'll give Agent S a. See, I nearly said the name, but I'm getting used to this game now. Nearly getting. Well, I would recommend a very good book to anyone who hasn't read it, including James here. One called Perspectives by John Spencer. I've read a lot of UFO books in my time. I used to collect them and read them, you know, used to rip through them at high speed, and I got to say, I reckon that's the best UFO book out there, because it talks about the way that people interpret things differently to other people, how two people can see the same event and interpret it differently, and also how they can sometimes revisit the experience and change it in their minds and turn it from one thing into another. how we repaint experiences. And I think it's bloody brilliant. So go out and get a copy of Perspectives. It's
yeah, that sounds like up my street.
I think it's a bit of a classic, yeah.
I mean, it even talks about like they fire a missile from Edwards Air Force Base, and it flies into the sky, and loads of people around California area seeing this missile fired into the sky. They can see the plume of smoke, and they can see the rocket coming out of the back, the bright light, off it goes into space. Strangely enough, at exactly the time they fire the rocket, people in San Francisco start jamming the phone lines saying they're seeing the Virgin Mary hovering in the sky at exactly the time of the launch. And it's like, why do people in San Francisco all say they're seeing the Virgin Mary, whereas everybody else is seeing the rocket?
Do you know what, though? I will say I've caught myself in the past, certainly the 10 years ago when in this area, I have caught myself acting as, one of these people that reads into things. And because I really wanted to believe this, I caught myself not deliberately lying, but yeah, deliberately lying. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I wonder when I'm hearing people speak whether they're experiencing what I experienced all those years ago, which is you really want to believe this, so you're going to draw the conclusions. Like when you find out that rocket isn't the Mary, and when you read in the papers that actually a rocket was launched, then how do you cope with that change? Do you still really want to believe in it? Then it must be... people will make up the next. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'm just saying that I've caught myself reading into things because I've wanted to believe something so strongly. I don't know whether people can admit to that.
Yes, very interesting points. I think we're going to have to wrap it up fairly soon.
Yeah, I need a fag and a cup of coffee.
I'm right here, baby.
A cigarette, not a.
Sorry. But yes, Rob Irving says, what is it with you and you religious weirdos? Crop Dolly, I think he's referring to.
Oh.
Crop Dolly says, I need bed. So yes, but yeah, we've got various opinions coming in. It's always nice to sort of see the different sides of things. I'd really be interested to get Mr. Irving on the show, so we must all ask him very nicely in channel if you would please come up, and I'll pay his petrol and give him some drink.
Ply him with alcohol.
Yeah, and if he says shut up, Williams, I will shut up. So don't do it, Rob. Dion says. Okay. So anyway, we hope he likes the show, and if he's been watching the other shows, he can see where we're coming from.
Well, thank you
on
to
this.
all those other people for.
And thanks, yes, to everybody who's taking part, and thanks to James who's been on the line for
Yeah,
ages.
awesome, James.
Yeah, it's been really great talking to you. You've been really good tonight, Shell. I really enjoyed hearing from you.
Well, I think it's been a good show tonight, and it's been worth carrying it on just to sort of see, where things can go. But do you know, I don't think there were some areas we didn't quite get into. I'm thinking now.
You didn't see all the circles.
We haven't seen all the circles that nearly Agent S has been involved with. So let's hang on a sec. Right, so let's get this full screen, and then see if we can get this working. So it's what's that then?
I don't think I told that story, did I?
We have to be quick then.
No, we can save it for another time.
Well, go on.
Well, that's the tattoo when I went to America.
Oh yeah.
When I had the experience with the 5-pointed star over the Burning Man, this was the second symbolic thing that happened, because the guy that I was staying with in America had that symbol tattooed on his forearm. And
I don't think did you go into detail saying that you had you predicted basically when you were out in the States, you didn't realise, but you'd drawn a 5-pointed design that appeared in the fields.
I was designing a Burning Man.
Yes.
A structure to build out in the desert, and we went to build it on the roof, and the from a bird's eye view, the actual shape was a 5-pointed star. And after realising that, 2 days later, it appeared in Eastfield.
Yes, it was
like 2,000 miles away.
This one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which I did claim as one of mine, so I can't. I might as well just say it, because I've already bloody.
even until I met you a month or two
not that
ago,
impressive,
I
is
was
it?
convinced that you were in relations with, or you were speaking to my friend that I was staying with in America.
Yeah.
I was sure that you had something to do with that.
Yeah, and we didn't. But,
well, you did because you made it. But
I might have had my hand in it, but we didn't sort of take an idea and pass it back from back and forth. But what's this one then? I
think now there's one I made with Paul Damon, but it was something like that. Whether that's the one or not, I'd hate to say I was involved and someone said, "Oh, she wasn't there." It was a circle. I'm pretty sure it was
sort of
that
like
one.
that, yeah.
Because the fact that there's and that's the Japanese TV one. Yeah,
this was Masao Maki commissioned this one, and we didn't tell people that we'd made it because we were doing it, behind the scenes. And some people said, "Yeah, that's absolutely real," and that was another one that we made, but that was paid for. So, you thought?
Well, I'm pretty sure it's the other one I did.
You think it's the other one, not this one that you were part of, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't see the aerial shots till like sometime after you've done it.
Yeah, this is the HTV one that you were, I think this is the HTV one. We could be wrong on this one.
Is, yeah.
Obviously the R
this
formation.
This is the one that got me booted out.
The one that got you kicked out with a farmer's wife. And then what else we got? That one we've talked about. And this one might be confusing, this one with the HTV one, or vice versa. This might be the HTV one. Can't quite remember.
They look the same, don't they?
Well, that's the photos we've loaded up anyway. There's probably some more stuff, but we can talk about those again. But anything.
People are wanting to go to bed now, aren't they?
Yeah, people are wanting to go to bed. They're sort of we're pushing it, but I can do this all night long because I'm my own man, but I'm sure people have got jobs and stuff they want to go to. But So Rob says it's very entertaining. Dorothy says, "Come on, Rob, talk to us next week." Crop Dolly says, "For a moment I thought he was in on this chat."
It's still alive and kicking, isn't it? All this conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Dorothy says it's only a small number of really like-minded people. As long as Buckles, as in I think Andy Buckley is saying, is not here, everything will be okay.
Oh dear.
And Rob Irving says, "Actually, Dorothy, I'm not like-minded," and I think you'll probably find that's Rob's got a very, very sort of interesting view on all this. He's sort of he's if I'm not mistaken, he's very much sort of like looks at us with a very sort of you weirdos, you weird people. What's the matter with you? Yes, and he likes his 40 times and that sort of stuff, maybe. But I want to get that sort of a side of things on. You see, I want to bring on a different opinion. So anyway, we shall see. But for the moment, I think we're probably going to wrap it up. So James, thanks very much for coming on, mate.
Yeah, thanks, James.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we're going to fade you down now. So we'll catch you soon. And this is for everyone in the channel. Thank you for your input. And we hope you tell your friends to come on, and we'll catch you next week. It's going to be Wednesday. If I've made a mistake on the dates for these things, it is Wednesdays. I'm just not very good with the dates sometimes. So, and if you've got anything you'd like to submit, then let us know and send it in. We can put videos up on the screen, photos, and we can put information if you're interested in submitting something to the program. We'd be happy to see it. So, we should go back to Agent S with Jesus and God on the chair there. So thank you very much, everybody, for taking part, and we shall see you next week, Wednesday, same time, 9 o'clock UK time. And if we've missed anything, let us know. So thanks very much.
Cool.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. So, I'm sure the microphone was probably going to be on now, and we can pretend like we... Yes. So... What terrible people in channel. Bastards. What terrible people. Can't believe these people that come on asking these questions. They're terrible people. Oh, the mic's still on. Right, bye.